Part 2. Luo Shan traveled to another world, a world that blended multiple urban novels. He became a rich second-generation lick dog, a sycophantic villain. And in the end, he actually met a tragic fate where his family was destroyed. After yet another beating from the protagonist, he didn't hesitate to choose to approach the protagonist's mother. Chapter 28: Entering the house. In the evening, the setting sun cut through the sky. Luo Shan came to the door of Qin Jinxuan's office. The door was locked and no one was there. So Los Angeles stood at the office door and waited. About a few minutes later, Qin Jinxuan came to the office, and as soon as she arrived, she saw Luo Shan. "Student Luo, have you been waiting for a long time? I was delayed by a meeting just now." Qin Jinxuan opened the door, walked in, picked up a bag and prepared to go home. "No, I just waited for 20 minutes. It's nothing. After all, how can you feel that the waiting time is long when you are waiting for a beautiful woman? Smooth talk, is this how you usually deceive little girls?" Qin Jinxuan was praised by Luo Shan. She was stunned for a moment, smiled slightly, and closed the office door. "That's impossible. Teacher Qin slandered me. Let alone dating, I haven't even touched a girl's hand." Luo Shan blushed, looking like an innocent boy. A persona must be established and lies must be told. Is this true or false? Qin Jinxuan raised her head in disbelief and looked at Luo Shan's face, which was as red as an apple. It doesn't look like an act. A boy's blush speaks louder than any love words. This isn't right for Los Angeles. He's never been in a relationship. Yeah. My family was very strict since I was young, so I didn't have any chance. I didn't meet any girls I liked in college. Luo Shan tugged at the corner of his clothes and spoke. "Oh, I see. But I see you seem to be quite familiar with Xiao Qingran today." Qin Jinxuan spoke again. "We are friends, ordinary friends." Luo Shan smiled and spoke. Qin Jinxuan brought Luo Shan to the parking lot, pushed out an Emmer electric car from the side of a black BMW, and then handed the helmet in the front basket to Luo Shan. He patted the back seat and said, "Get in the car, let's go. Is it necessary to park your electric car in the parking lot? How about Teacher Qin, let me take you back. This is a bit slow." Luo Shan looked at the electric bike pushed out by Qin Jinxuan, swallowed his saliva, and finally spoke. "Oh? How come you have a car too? How does it compare to my warhorse?" Qin Jinxuan looked at Luo Shan and said. But when he saw the blue McLaren sports car, his face was full of shock. Is this your car? When did Nike start making cars?" Qin Jinxuan didn't recognize the brand of this car at all, but she knew at first glance that it was definitely not a cheap one. After looking at her beloved warhorse and then at Nike, Qin Jinxuan finally chose Nike. "Why do you have to take a ride in this kind of luxury car to experience how it tastes, right? Walk." Qin Jinxuan got in the car and told the driver her home address. The house Qin Jinxuan rented was not far from Jinghai University, and it only took about 10 minutes to get there. Qin Jinxuan got out of the car. "Thank you, classmate Luo, I will go back first." "No, Mr. Qin, I'm already here, you can't even let me drink water, right? Come with me." Qin Jinxuan looked at Luo Shan, hesitated for a while, and finally spoke, then took Luo Shan upstairs. As soon as the room was opened, a faint fragrance wafted. The room is not very big, but it has everything you need. And the room was very clean. There were some women's clothes hanging on the balcony, and even Los Angeles saw some black stockings and underwear. Teacher Qin is so good at dressing, I didn't realize it. But Los Angeles quickly looked away. Don't look at what is inappropriate. Don't look at what is inappropriate. Staring at other people's underwear is a loser's behavior. I am a villain with integrity. Qin Jinxuan also noticed Luo Shan's gaze, but she was relieved when she saw that Luo Shan's gaze quickly left. But Qin Jinxuan still came to the small balcony and took down her underwear hanging on the balcony with a blushing face. "There has never been a member of the opposite sex coming into my little house so far, and I really didn't expect Los Angeles to come up today, so I didn't clean up." Luo Shan looked at Qin Jinxuan's action and couldn't help but sigh. It's fine enough that he's on guard against villains, but he's even on guard against a gentleman like himself. It really shows that the world is becoming more corrupt and people's hearts are no longer as they used to be. Sit here for a while. I'll get you some water. Qin Jinxuan turned around and went to get some water from the water dispenser. Looking at Qin Jinxuan's graceful figure, Luo Shan considered whether to use force. After all, a villain has to look like a villain. After all, Qin Jinxuan's favorability towards me is not low now. After helping Qin Jinxuan deal with Zhang Dafei's matter just now, her favorability has reached 70. While Luo Shan was thinking, Qin Jinxuan had already handed a glass of water to Luo Shan and started talking. Student Luo, you just said that you haven't met a girl you like, so what kind of girl do you like? Qin Jinxuan handed the cup of water to Luo Shan and spoke. I like gentle, mature and beautiful people. Like Teacher Qin. Luo Shan looked directly into Qin Jinxuan's eyes and spoke very seriously. R. Qin Jinxuan was stunned for a moment when she heard Luo Shan's voice. What does Los Angeles mean? Is he confessing his love to me? When I raised my head, I met Los Angeles' charming and affectionate eyes. I'm not ready yet. Should I accept it, or accept it, or accept it? It's really handsome, it really hits my heart. No matter what, just go for it. Luo Shan looked at Qin Jinxuan's expression and made the decision instantly. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Luo Shan immediately grabbed Qin Jinxuan's hand, held it tightly, and said affectionately, Teacher Qin, I fell in love with you the moment I saw you. Can you accept me? Is this too fast? Qin Jinxuan wanted to break free from Luo Shan's hand, but Luo Shan was very strong and she couldn't break free at all. No, as long as you truly love each other, it won't be fast. Luo Shan lowered his head and directly covered Qin Jinxuan's red lips. This is my first kiss. Looking at Luo Shan's actions, Qin Jinxuan felt her mind go blank. However, feeling Luo Shan's enthusiasm, Qin Jinxuan still responded awkwardly. Luo Shan's hands were stroking Qin Jinxuan's body back and forth. Our identities are like this. You are a student, but I am a teacher. Qin Jinxuan still retained a little bit of rationality, but now she had to be decisive. Luo Shan simply picked up Qin Jinxuan and walked into the house. You must be nice to me and not bully me. A few hours later, Qin Jinxuan lay in Luo Shan's arms, her face flushed, her hands drawing circles on Luo Shan's strong chest muscles. Everything seems so unreal. I didn't expect that I would be so half-hearted. Yeah. Luo Shan looked at Qin Jinxuan, whose warmth in his arms had not yet faded, and nodded. You are so mean, have you really never been in love? How do you know so much? Qin Jinxuan then looked at Luo Shan with a suspicious look on her face and said. Really? Why would I lie to you? I read it in a book and studied it a little bit. Los Angeles looked innocent. But Qin Jinxuan looked at Luo Shan's expression and she didn't believe it at all. She was just confused by this expression. Then I got myself involved. I swear. I will be nice to Teacher Qin. Luo Shan raised her fingers and swore. Forget it, I believe you. Qin Jinxuan quickly covered Luo Shan's mouth with her hand and spoke. She couldn't bear it. What if something unexpected really happened to Los Angeles? What should she do then? Isn't this just a life of widowhood? You can't tell anyone about our relationship. If the students in my class knew about it, I would be so embarrassed. Qin Jinxuan warned Luo Shan. Luo Shan nodded and agreed continuously, which saved him the trouble of hiding the truth. Chapter 29, Beat Up the Protagonist. Early in the morning, Luo Shan sent Qin Jinxuan back to school. In order to avoid being seen by Qin Jinxuan's students, the two got out of the car and said goodbye in the parking lot. Qin Jinxuan walked towards the teaching building, but upon closer inspection, Qin Jinxuan's walking posture was a bit strange. Qin Jinxuan made a deep note of Luo Shan in her heart. Like a cow. I'm going back to class, you have to miss me. Qin Jinxuan hugged Luo Shan and whispered softly in his ear. Teacher Qin, I will miss you. Luo Shan rubbed Qin Jinxuan's black hair and said. Still call me Teacher Qin. Qin Jinxuan said. A blush appeared on her face when she heard him address her as Teacher Qin from Los Angeles. It feels good this way. Luo Shan pinched Qin Jinxuan's face and spoke with a smile. I do feel that, so I'm leaving now. Qin Jinxuan nodded, then turned and walked towards the teaching building, reluctant to leave, looking back at Luo Shan every few steps. Teacher Qin, go quickly, the class is about to start. Luo Shan stopped and kept his eyes on Qin Jinxuan. That look seemed to have thousands of words to say to Qin Jinxuan. Qin Jinxuan suddenly turned around, trotted to Luo Shan, stood on tiptoes and kissed Luo Shan on the big mouth, then she was satisfied and left with a smile. This is the sign. You can't miss me. Yeah. Luo Shan nodded and assured. 5 minutes later, Los Angeles returned to the classroom. Godfather, why don't you teach us? We can pay and even listen on our knees. Godfather, please accept our greetings. As soon as I entered the classroom, the 3 auspicious treasures rushed to me and bowed down to me. His eyes were full of desire for knowledge. I'll teach you, what will I teach you? Los Angeles is a little weird. There. The 3 of them pouted and looked in their direction. A beautiful figure appeared in the classroom, embellishing the suicidal atmosphere in the morning. I was wondering why the atmosphere in the class this morning was so much better than in the past few days. Everyone became more energetic when seeing the beautiful girls. Luo Shan didn't expect that Xiao Qingran would come to his class so early in the morning. Luo Shan, you haven't had breakfast yet, right? This is for you. I don't know what you like to eat, so I just bought some. Try it and see if it tastes good. As soon as Xiao Qingran saw Luo Shan, a light flashed in his eyes and he quickly handed the breakfast in his hand to Luo Shan. Originally, Xiao Qingran's visit to Luo Shan was already enough to surprise the 3 of them. Now they were actually delivering breakfast to Los Angeles, which shocked the 3 auspicious treasures even more. Is this still China? Is this still Xiao Qingran? Why are you bringing me breakfast? Just give me the money, don't be polite. Luo Shan took the breakfast and said, I haven't had breakfast yet. Looking at Luo Shan's performance, Xiao Qingran couldn't help but think of how Luo Shan had treated him in the past, how kind and affectionate he had been. Could it be that I really hurt Luo Shan too badly in the past? Xiao Qingran thought. Thinking about how good Los Angeles had been to me in the past, but how am I towards Los Angeles? This is what Li Shui analyzed for herself overnight. She had hurt Luo Shan too deeply in the past, causing Luo Shan to completely lose his good impression of her. I bought too much and couldn't finish it. We can't waste food, so I thought of giving it to you. After all, Xiao Qingran was shy and did not say that it was sold only to Luo Shan. I'm a pig. I eat everything. Give me the leftovers. Are you treating me like a food bucket? Luo Shan said speechlessly. Xiao Qingran was also amused when he heard this. Why didn't he realize that Luo Shan was quite humorous before? Eat it quickly, or it will get cold and taste bad. Yuren came to the classroom and prepared to give today's breakfast to Xiao Qingran. Seeing that Xiao Qingran was not in the classroom, he asked Xiao Qingran's best friend Li Shui. I have no idea. Li Shui shook her head decisively and joked that Qingran was going to pursue her own happiness. What are you going to do? Is it the turn of a monster like you to oppose this talented man and beautiful woman? Did Qingran go find Luo Shan again? Yuran's heart sank, and he spoke with a bad feeling in his heart. How do you know? No, how do I know where she went? I'm not her mother. Don't ask, I really don't know. Li Shui opened her mouth, but immediately realized that she had said the wrong thing and shut up decisively. Looking at Yuran's retreating figure, Li Shui couldn't help but give herself 2 slaps. It's over, it's over. After Yuran heard Li Shui's words, his face instantly darkened, and the ominous premonition in his heart became stronger. He clenched his fists, crossed the corridor, and almost ran to Los Angeles' classroom. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself. The sunlight shone through the gaps between the leaves, illuminating the classroom and reflecting the figures of Luo Shan and Xiao Qingran. Luo Shan had already seen Yuran standing at the door of the classroom through the slanting light, and then spoke to Xiao Qingran. Do you know why the sea is blue? Well, because of the reflection of light. Xiao Qingran asked uncertainly. Because there are fish in the sea, and the fish can spit bubbles, blue tilde blue tilde blue tilde. Luo Shan said immediately. Oh, tilde English. Xiao Qingran was a little speechless, but still smiled gently out of politeness. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Those 2 people seemed to be in the spotlight, born to be the protagonists. Luo Shan was eating breakfast with his head down, while Xiao Qingran was sitting next to Luo Shan, occasionally smiling gently. Then I thought about what Los Angeles said to me yesterday. Does Qingran really like Luo Shan? Impossible. Yiran suppressed the sadness in his heart, walked into the classroom, and headed straight towards Los Angeles. Yiran, what are you doing? How dare you come here? I haven't settled the score with you for what happened last time. Still want to disturb our Luo Ge? Get past us first. The three auspicious treasures guarded the two of them, stared at Yiran, and spoke. It's okay, bro. I'll take care of everything. Just focus on your love life. The three of us will help you protect you. Get out of here. Yiran is confident enough in his own strength. A dozen big men can't get close to him at all. Not to mention the three skinny guys in front of him, he could take care of them one by one punch. You're quite arrogant, kid. Have you ever seen a fist as big as a sandbag? The three of them looked at Yiran, waved their not-so-strong fists, and spoke. But the next moment, the three of them were taken aside by Yiran like little chicks, and the scene was a bit awkward for a while. Luo Shan, I gave you a chance, but I didn't expect you to still pester Qingran. Don't blame me for not accepting my toast and drinking their wine for punishment. Yiran didn't even look at the three people he had dealt with, and came to Luo Shan. Yiran looked at Luo Shan with rage in his eyes. In his heart, he had already regarded Xiao Qingran as his woman. Los Angeles' behavior is no different from cheating on himself. Yiran, I took the initiative to come to Luo Shan, so don't be impulsive. Xiao Qingran was also afraid that Yiran would take direct action and get Luo Shan hurt, so he opened his mouth to explain. Qingran, I know you are kind and want to excuse Luo Shan, but don't be deceived by Luo Shan. He is not a good person. Don't ruin your reputation for him. Yiran felt even more upset when he listened to Xiao Qingran's words, but Yiran still had to deceive himself. Xiao Qingran said, yes. Luo Shan listened to Yiran's words, rolled his eyes, and then moved his mouth, but no sound came out. Looking at Luo Shan's lip shape, Yiran could clearly see the word, idiot. Yiran waved his fist, veins bulging, walked quickly forward to Luo Shan, and threw a punch. However, Luo Shan is no longer the Luo Shan of the past. He now has the strength of the peak of external strength, while Yiran is only in the middle stage of external strength. A cold light flashed in Luo Shan's eyes, and he directly grabbed Yiran's wrist. Yiran felt that Luo Shan's hand was like an iron clamp, tightly clamping his arm, preventing him from moving his hand any further. Yiran's face turned red with embarrassment, but Luo Shan's strength made him feel incredible. How could he be so strong? Stronger than me. It's fine if I don't look for you, but you still want to look for me. Let's settle the old and new accounts together. Luo Shan sneered, clenched his other hand into a fist, and punched Yiran in the stomach with all his strength. Yiran instantly felt a sharp pain spread throughout his body. Then, Luo Shan stretched out his hand, and suddenly a crisp and loud slapping sound spread throughout the classroom. And instantly there was a clear red palm print on Yiran's face. Ding, the host beat up the son of destiny, Yiran, causing his mentality to completely explode, successfully plundering 200 points of luck value, and obtaining 2,000 points of villain value. You dare to slap me? Yiran looked at Luo Shan with an expression of disbelief. Chapter 30 The Destiny Child Turns Dark. Why, you don't accept it? Not only do I dare to slap you, I dare to slap you left and right. As Luo Shan spoke, there was a rhythmic sound of par tilde, playing a beautiful melody. Okay, I'm tired, go away now. Luo Shan let go of Yiran only after he was tired of beating him. Yiran then lay limply on the ground, as if all his strength had been drained from him. Yiran was lying on the ground, his heart filled with anger, but a little bit of fear emerged in his mind. Los Angeles, how could he be so strong now? As far as Yiran knows, his current cultivation level is at the middle stage of external strength, which is extremely rare at this age. But Losang is even more extraordinary. Just looking at the strength he uses to clamp himself, it is no less than the middle stage of external strength. Yiran stared at Luo Shan closely, his small eyes were full of resentment and hatred, staring at Luo Shan like a poisonous snake waiting for an opportunity. Are you okay? Xiao Qingran's voice was a little anxious as he approached quickly, his eyes full of concern. I'm fine, Qingran, you don't have to worry, but thank you for your concern anyway. Yiran forced a smile on his face, made a pose that he thought was very handsome even while lying on the ground, and spoke. Although Yiran felt ashamed, He thought that this could arouse Xiao Qingran's sympathy for him and bring him closer to Xiao Qingran. I can still bear this little pain. This injury is nothing to me. It's mainly a loss of face. Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Does your hand hurt? Do you want to get some treatment? But it seemed that Xiao Qingran was not talking to him. Xiao Qingran walked around Yuran and went to Luo Shan. He stood beside Luo Shan and spoke. This scene, like a sharp blade, ruthlessly cut through the already fragile defense line in Yuran's heart. Yuran looked at Xiao Qingran's anxious expression, which didn't seem to be fake. My heart, which already had cracks in it, is now completely shattered into pieces. It seems like I'm the one who got hurt, right? Can't you see that I'm lying on the ground? Those slaps weren't given to you on the face, so you don't feel the pain, right? This Los Angeles looks like nothing happened to him, and he even seems a little secretly happy. Can't you see that? I'm fine. Luo Shan waved his hand, looked at Xiao Qingran beside him, then turned his head to look at Yuran lying on the ground, wondering how uncomfortable it was to hold back his laughter. I'm glad you're okay. If you get hurt again because of me, I'll feel really bad. Xiao Qingran spoke softly, his heart full of guilt, then he looked at the time and saw that it was almost time for class, so he said goodbye to Luo Shan. The class is about to start, so I'll go to class first. If you need anything, let me know at any time. Xiao Qingran then waved at Luo Shan, without even looking at Yuran who was lying on the ground alone and helpless, and left Luo Shan's classroom. The current Yuran is just like the former Luo Shan, always being courteous to me, but I don't like such behavior at all. Of course Xiao Qingran doesn't like Yuran, one of the reasons being that Yuran's luck has been plundered by Luo Shan and everything has gone wrong. It is normal that the girl of destiny will not be attracted to the boy of destiny who has low luck. Moreover, this Yuran is even more boring than Luo Shan, not as good looking as Luo Shan, and not as attentive and caring as Luo Shan was to Xiao Qingran back then. In addition, Xiao Qingran still suspected that this was just a trick directed and performed by Yuran just to gain his sympathy. How is it possible that the man who could get rid of the 3 lucky treasures could fall into Los Angeles' hands? Yuran felt the coldness on the floor tiles, but what was even colder was his own heart. He watched Xiao Qingran leave and cried out helplessly in his heart. There is another person here, why don't you take me away? Well, Yuran is about to go to class. Are you still lying here? Does my classroom smell better? Do you want to go out by yourself, or do you want me to ask you to go out? Luo Shan looked at Yuran, who was lying on the ground with a complicated expression on his face, and spoke coldly. HMPH tilde Luo Shan, just wait for me. Our mountains and rivers will never change. Let's go. Yuran got up and stared at Luo Shan unwillingly. I'm embarrassed enough now. If I'm asked to leave by Luo Shan again, I won't be able to stay in Jinghai University anymore. Hey, don't do it yet. Pay attention to your manners. Yuran saw Luo Shan rubbing his hands together again, and thought of the pain in his body. So he spoke quickly, his eyes full of resentment, and then dragged his injured body and left the Los Angeles classroom as if fleeing. Yuran returned to the classroom in a panic and sat in his exclusive seat in the last 2 rows. His mind was full of the scene where he was beaten like a dog by Luo Shan. She was lying on the ground, but Luo Shan was still flirting with Xiao Qingran, without any regard for her feelings at all. This scene hit Yuran hard. Immediately afterwards, Yuran's mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. Why? Why, after doing so much, I still can't get Xiao Qingran's attention, and can't get any love from Xiao Qingran? And why does Los Angeles have the ability? Yuran's heart was gradually consumed by the flames of jealousy and unwillingness, even the last bit of rationality was swallowed up. Yuran stared at Xiao Qingran's back, and a hint of madness flashed in his deep dark eyes. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Yuran now only has one thing in mind, which is to get Xiao Qingran completely. This has become his obsession. And by doing this, he made Losang feel the feeling of having his woman taken away by someone else, and it was also revenge on Losang. The other thing is to make Los Angeles completely disappear from this world forever. He had to make adequate preparations and plans for these things. Fortunately, he had recently met many important people in Jinghai City through selling antiques. After all, I am now a human ATM. No one can resist money and everyone wants to be on good terms with me. You can plan well through those people. Yiran, the son of destiny, has completely turned evil. However, Luo Shan was unaware of Yiran's dark transformation. Looking at the large amount of luck points he had just plundered, his face was as bright as a flower. However, even though he knew that Yiran had turned evil, Luo Shan was not worried at all. After all, everything about Yiran was under his control now. I will never allow Yiran to escape from my control, so Yiran can't cause any trouble. Now Yiran's luck value is almost gone, it's time to take a drastic measure to reap its remaining value. After all, I still have a trump card in my hand. How interesting would it be if Yiran knew that he was his stepfather now? You are so bad, I like it so much. Chapter 31 Zhu Na and Lin Qinxia. In the evening, Los Angeles walked into the office. Qin Jinxuan was the only one in the office, and most of the teachers had gone off work at a certain time. Qin Jinxuan was waiting for Luo Shan in the classroom. As soon as she saw Luo Shan, Qin Jinxuan's eyes were shining. She hurried forward, closed the office door, and kissed Luo Shan's mouth with her red lips. My husband is here. Did you miss me today? Of course I did. I'll show you. In order to prove something to Qin Jinxuan, Luo Shan took Qin Jinxuan's hand and put it in the right place. When Qin Jinxuan saw Luo Shan's actions, she instantly understood what was going on. Her rosy cheeks shone in the afterglow of the setting sun. Teacher Qin, I have a question for you. Luo Shan looked at Qin Jinxuan's red lips and spoke. What's the problem? Why do you still call me teacher? Qin Jinxuan couldn't help but frown when she heard Luo Shan's address. Didn't I tell you, this feels good? If you don't like it, I can change it. Los Angeles smiled. I'm fine with anything, just listen to you. Upon hearing this, Qin Jinxuan thought about the title, teacher, and agreed. I just want to ask Teacher Qin, the weather has been too hot recently, and I'm a little irritable. What should I do? Luo Shan said with a smirk on his face. Qin Jinxuan naturally understood what Luo Shan meant. Although she also missed that feeling, she still shook her head and refused. He was obviously injured yesterday. Not now. It hurts. Then Teacher Qin, what should I do? Teacher Qin, you have seen what I look like now. Luo Shan had a helpless expression on his face and pointed at himself, looking pitiful. I don't know either. Qin Jinxuan also looked at Luo Shan and spoke at the same time. She doesn't have much experience either. Or. Luo Shan heard this and started to act like a scoundrel and said, no, no. What Qin Jinxuan can't stand the most is someone acting coquettishly to her, especially a handsome guy with a high favorability level, and she can't refuse at all. What if other teachers see us here? Qin Jinxuan's voice softened. She didn't completely refuse, but she still had a strong resistance to it. It's okay, I'll be careful. Luo Shan assured again and again. Qin Jinxuan finally agreed to Luo Shan's unreasonable request. Then, Teacher Qin, shall I take you home again? Luo Shan stood up and looked at Qin Jinxuan in front of him and spoke. No, I have to go home today. I also need to ride my red warhorse back. I can't just leave it here forever. That's my private property. Qin Jinxuan said. She knew that if she went home with Los Angeles again, no one knew what would happen. All right. Luo Shan raised his hands helplessly, give me a hug. Qin Jinxuan snuggled into Luo Shan's arms, and the two of them were affectionate for a few minutes before separating. Luo Shan drove Lin Qinxia back to his villa. Since Zhu Na moved in, the entire huge villa has felt more like home and is not as dirty and messy as before. Everything is kept in tidiness by Zhu Na. Luo Shan looked at Lin Qinxia with surprise as she walked out of the room in a maid outfit. Although this dress is Lin Qinxia's standard outfit in the villa, since Zhu Na moved in, Lin Qinxia has never worn clothes similar to a maid outfit again. Because I was afraid of being seen by Zhu Na and was shy. Wife, what are you doing? Luo Shan looked at Lin Qinxia and said. You don't like it? If you don't like it I can change it. Lin Qinxia looked at Luo Shan who was staring at her, and a hint of pride flashed across her face. Los Angeles still loves me. Of course I like it, but my aunt is still here. It's okay. I've talked to my mom about it. It's okay. After hearing Lin Qinxia's words, Luo Shan was already imagining scenes of Lin Qinxia wearing various costumes in his mind. Just thinking about it makes me happy. So I'm going to cook. Lin Qinxia looked at Luo Shan's expression, secretly delighted, then walked out of the room and went to the kitchen. After a while, Zhu Na and Lin Qinxia put a table full of food on the dining table. While eating, Zhu Na seemed not to notice Lin Qinxia's strange clothes. She just ate her own food and picked up some food for Lin Qinxia Luo Shan. The meal was spent in such a weird atmosphere. After dinner, Luo Shan returned to his room. After a while, Lin Qinxia came in wearing a bath towel after taking a shower. "Honey, I want." Looking at Lin Qinxia's appearance, how could Luo Shan not know what Lin Qinxia meant? He hadn't favored her for a day or two. You can't forget your old love just because you have a new one. 10 minutes later. In fact, that night, I was a light sleeper and I woke up early, just in time to see you guys leaving. Lin Qinxia was breathing heavily, her cheeks flushed, and she looked at Luo Shan and said, "When? I woke up just when you guys left." Lin Qinxia said, "Did you see everything?" Luo Shan saw Lin Qinxia staring at him, and felt a little embarrassed to be caught by someone. It was still seen by Lin Qinxia. I don't need to say more about who Lin Qinxia is. Although he was mentally prepared to confess to Lin Qinxia, there was still a big difference between bringing it up himself and being discovered by others. Why are you still exposing my shortcomings? Say this to yourself now. The environment is wrong. What's wrong? If I hadn't seen it, you were going to hide it from me. Lin Qinxia pouts and pinches Luo Shan's waist with her hand. I didn't see it, but I heard the noise. I was eavesdropping at the door. It was really loud. When Lin Qinxia said this, her skin flushed with a gentle blush due to shyness, like peach blossoms blooming in the morning light, delicate and attractive. No, it's just that there's no suitable time to tell you. After all, I don't know how to start this conversation. Qinxia, you won't blame me, right? Seeing that things had come to this point, Luo Shan simply admitted it, as he had been caught in the act. Chapter 32 Dinner with Yuran. How could I blame you? I know everything. My dad died in an accident not long after I was born. I know my mom did a lot for me. Just because she considered my feelings, she never remarried for such a long time. I understand her inner loneliness, and I don't blame you at all. I trust your character. You are also my mother's savior. It's normal for her to have a crush on you. If my mother had found another man, I would be a little worried. As expected, the heroine has a strong ability to conquer herself. No wonder I have read so many urban amateur novels and there have never been any quarrels or fights in the harem. We are all sisters. No matter who you are, we are all sisters, everyone is equal, and everyone has their own opinions. Even Lin Qinxia was not surprised by Zhu Na. That's great, honey. You're really a good wife. After listening to Lin Qinxia's words, Luo Shan kissed Lin Qinxia fiercely. You've been listening outside for so long, come in. Suddenly, Lin Qinxia shouted outside the house. As Lin Qinxia's voice fell, the door lock turned gently, and Zhu Na actually pushed the door open from outside and walked in. Luo Shan looked carefully and didn't expect that Zhu Na was wearing the same outfit that Lin Qinxia wore for herself a few days ago. Do you guys play so hard? I have already discussed this with Qinxia yesterday. You have to treat us well. Otherwise, we will ignore you in the future. Zhu Na shook her soul-stirring waist and sat directly beside Luo Shan's bed. She stroked Luo Shan's abdominal muscles with her hands and spoke. Qinxia, go put on your clothes first. The clothes I bought for you are in the next room. Lin Qinxia heard what Zhu Na said, and saw that Zhu Na had already kissed Luo Shan's lips. Seeing this, Lin Qinxia stood up, glared at Luo Shan fiercely, then went out and prepared to put on her own clothes. After a moment, the door lock turned and Lin Qinxia walked in. Then they slept together until noon. At noon, the sun was scorching hot on the earth. Luo Shan got up quickly, feeling sore in his waist and back, and his whole body was as soft as noodles. He quickly ordered some takeout, intending to reward himself. After a while, the delivery man delivered the takeaway. Luo Shan called the two people who were still sleeping to get up and eat together. After Luo Shan finished his meal, he called Su Rou. This is certainly not enough for Luo Shan, who is ready to let Su Rou take over the second half. Luo Shan has something important to discuss with Su Rou. Wife, how is Yiran now? Los Angeles asked. Hubby, I haven't contacted Yiran since that day, and Yiran hasn't come home at night these past few days. I don't know what he's busy with. So we haven't spoken to each other for a few words. Maybe he has a new business. Yiran is no longer my son. I can't teach a son who is a drug dealer. Su Rou's voice was full of helplessness, even a little tearful, and then it was filled with anger. Su Rou no longer cares about Yiran. Even if Yiran dies outside one day, it would be his own fault. It's dangerous to do this job. It not only hurts others but also hurts yourself. Now Su Rou still cares about Yiran just because of that little bit of blood. I want to invite Yiran to have dinner with me. It's time to tell him about our relationship. Even if this child is a bad boy, he is still our son. He should have the right to know, right? Let's see if he can accept me as a father. I definitely can't make an appointment, so my wife can only let you try. Luo Shan also sighed helplessly, his tone full of sincerity, hoping that Yiran could accept his identity as a father. I will give it a try. When Su Rou heard Luo Shan's words, she nodded and agreed. After hanging up the phone, Su Rou then called Yiran. Mom? What's wrong? Yiran took the phone, holding a small white glass bottle in his other hand. This thing is a bottle of strong aphrodisiac that Yiran obtained through someone. This kind of thing is strictly prohibited by the government, but money talks. Yiran spent a huge amount of money to buy it from the black market just to use it on Xiao Qingran. Once a woman is exposed to this drug, even the most chaste woman will turn into a slut who can be fucked by anyone. Yiran plans to ask Xiao Qingran out tomorrow and use his power on her to get her directly, so that Luo Shan can also experience the feeling of being cuckolded. Well, are you free tonight? Let's go out for dinner. I have a friend I want to introduce to you. Su Rou felt a little uncomfortable, but still spoke. Oh? What friends do you need to introduce to me? Yiran was very surprised that his mother wanted to introduce a friend to him. I'm afraid you can't accept it. You'd better prepare yourself mentally. Try not to do anything. You might really not be able to accept it. Su Rou spoke up. Yiran listened to Su Rou's tone and felt that it seemed like someone he knew, so he couldn't help but ask. Mom, have you found your other half? Do you want to introduce him to me? Let me check him out. About the same. Su Rou spoke up. No, there's no way I would do that. Mom, I'm glad you found your happiness. But Yiran still felt a little uncomfortable listening to Su Rou's words, probably because his mother had been accompanying him for more than 10 or 20 years. But someone suddenly wants to take his mother away from him, and he can no longer enjoy his mother's love alone. I'm glad you understand. See you tonight. Su Rou hung up the phone and breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 33 Yiran collapses. After booking the restaurant, Su Rou sent a table to Luo Shan and agreed to pick him up at 6 p.m. After Los Angeles finished the call, he also lay down and rested for a while. It was soon evening. Luo Shan, Zhu Na and Lin Qinxia said hello, left the villa, came to Su Rou's house, and took Su Rou into the car. Today Su Rou wore a purple dress and put on some light makeup, looking very elegant and charming. As soon as Su Rou got into the car, she hugged Luo Shan tightly and covered Luo Shan's mouth fiercely to express her longing for him. My husband misses me so much. Driving. This is not good. Los Angeles has no time to think about any bullshit love right now. He is really tired now. Su Rou looked up at Luo Shan and spoke angrily. Are you hanging out with some woman? Is it Zhu Na? That little slut. It's nothing. Don't think too much about it. Luo Shan said confidently. Su Rou saw Luo Shan like this and she didn't believe it at all. After a while, the car stopped in front of the restaurant. Aren't you going to the bathroom? Luo Shan parked the car and entered the restaurant. Luo Shan turned around and looked at Su Rou in confusion and said, No, just drink more water. Su Rou rolled her eyes at Luo Shan and said, Is it too late now? The two walked into the private room. Yiran had not arrived at the restaurant yet. So Su Rou picked up the phone and asked Yiran how long it would take to arrive. Almost there in 10 minutes. Yuran said on the other end of the phone. 10 minutes, husband. Then what about us? Su Rou looked at Luo Shan eagerly, her eyes full of desire, like the look of a mouse seeing a cat. The cat wanted to eat the mouse in one bite. Forget it, 10 minutes isn't enough. I will satisfy you tonight. Luo Shan felt a little scared when he saw the way Su Rou was staring at him. But a man can't say he can't do it. I'll go out for a while, and then come in when Yuran comes. I'm not afraid that Yuran won't be able to bear seeing me suddenly. Su Rou nodded, and then Luo Shan walked out the door. About 10 minutes later, the door was pushed open and Yuran walked in. Mom, you came so early, where is the person you were talking about? Yuran looked at Su Rou and smiled, his eyes full of amazement. Why did his pretty mother seem to be getting more and more beautiful in the past few days? But when he thought about it, his mother became so beautiful now, she must have been nourished by someone, and his face drooped instantly. That one hasn't arrived yet. Su Rou sent a message to Luo Shan and said to Yuran calmly, it will be here soon. Before he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. What a coincidence. Speak of the devil, here he comes. I didn't expect him to show up so soon. Su Rou walked quickly to the door and opened it. You're here, Yuran, come, meet your uncle Luo. Surname Luo? This surname is quite rare. Although Yuran felt a little unhappy to see that his mother's love was not all on him, he still greeted her politely. Uncle Luo, hello Uncle Luo. With a smile on his face, Yuran turned his head to see who this Uncle Luo was, but Luo Shan's face suddenly appeared in his sight. You Tilder, why is it you? Why can't it be me? I can't be Uncle Luo. Didn't you shout very well just now? Keep shouting. Luo Shan had a kind smile on his face. He walked to Su Rou and put his arms around her slender waist. The scene was as intimate as it could be. Take your dirty hands off me. When Yuran saw Luo Shan's hand on his mother's waist, his eyes seemed to be able to spit fire. Yuran, how did you talk to your Uncle Luo? Show some respect. Apologize to your Uncle Luo immediately. Seeing Yuran being rude to Luo Shan, Su Rou frowned and scolded him. Uncle Luo. Do you know how old he is? Mom, he is about the same age as me, nearly 20 years younger than you Tilder. Yuran cried out heartbreakingly. So what? We truly love each other, age is not a problem. Luo Shan was beside Su Rou. He bent down and kissed her red lips. At the same time, his big hands were rubbing Su Rou's soft breasts, deliberately doing it for Yuran to see. Although even a tiger won't eat its own cubs, it will still eat them at critical moments. Su Rou felt Luo Shan's strong love and found it difficult to breathe. She was immersed in the ocean of love. When Yuran saw this, there seemed to be real murderous intent in his eyes. If eyes could kill, Luo Shan would have died 1,000 times. Yuran's body was trembling slightly because of jealousy and anger. If he hadn't been holding onto the table, Yuran might have fallen to the ground. Yuran's desire to kill Luo Shan became stronger and stronger. Mom, there's no way I can accept Los Angeles. You know what? Los Angeles has a girlfriend. I know. How could such an outstanding man like Luo Shan only have a woman like me? I am old, and it is impossible for me to accompany Luo Shan forever. As long as Luo Shan's husband remembers me, that's enough. Su Rou looked up at Luo Shan and spoke from the bottom of her heart, her words full of love. Mom, why are you so stubborn? What kind of drug did Los Angeles give you? Yuran looked disappointed in his mother as he stared at her who had fallen in love, not knowing how to persuade her. Mom, if you're still with Luo Shan, only one of us can stay in this family. Either you don't want me as your son, or you give up Luo Shan. Either I or him, or I or him. Yuran's roar echoed throughout the private room. Hearing this, Luo Shan had an obvious smile on his face. Isn't this just asking for trouble and shooting himself in the foot? Oh. Then Yuran, son, this is the last time I will call you that. From now on, you are no longer my son. I only want Luo Shan. We are done with each other from now on. Su Rou spoke decisively without any hesitation. Ever since she found out what Yuran had done, Su Rou has been completely disappointed with her son. And she has a 100% favorable impression of Luo Shan. No one can compare to the position that Luo Shan holds in Su Rou's heart. Okay, I didn't expect that you would give up your own son for a man. I hope you won't regret it. Hearing Su Rou's decisive and resolute words, Yiran was truly disheartened. His eyes were full of emptiness. He no longer looked at the two people in front of him who were flirting with each other. He turned around, opened the door, and left. Ding, congratulations to their host for making the mentality of the son of destiny, Yiran, completely explode and fall into madness. There is no possibility of recovery. Successfully plundered 300 points of luck and 3,000 points of villain value. Chapter 34 Protagonist Plan. Well, now that the kid has left, do you want to go after him? Luo Shan looked at Yiran's lost and helpless back, and he wanted to open a dozen bottles of champagne right there. But he spoke with a somewhat lost expression. Don't worry about him. Since he doesn't accept you, I won't have this child from now on. Husband, you don't need to be too stressed. I only want you. Su Rou gently comforted Luo Shan and expressed her attitude at the same time. Hearing this, Luo Shan couldn't help but chuckle. Pressure? There wasn't any at all. Luo Shan nodded and said gently, Wife, you haven't eaten yet, right? Let's eat first. Luo Shan then called the waiter and ordered a few dishes that Su Rou liked. Soon the food was served on the table. Su Rou also ate with great relish, picking up food for Luo Shan from time to time, and her mood was not affected at all by Yiran. After dinner, Luo Shan followed Su Rou into a hotel after Su Rou pleaded with him. God knows, Luo Shan really didn't have this idea. He was forced to do it by Su Rou. He really couldn't resist Su Rou's nagging and oral attacks. Yiran returned home, feeling very angry. He sat quietly on the sofa with a gloomy face. The murderous intent towards Luo Shan in his heart became stronger and stronger, and he couldn't wait to get rid of him. In his eyes, as long as he kills Los Angeles and makes him completely disappear from this world, his mother will be able to return to the embrace of her family and also return to my arms. Yiran sat on the sofa at home, his eyes fixed on the door. He waited for a long time, but there was no sign of Su Rou until late at night. As an adult, Yiran certainly knew what would happen if a man and a woman were alone together late at night. Okay, Tilder Luo Shan, since you dare to attack my mother, don't blame me for attacking Xiao Qingran. Yiran's eyes were bloodshot. He took out his cell phone, forced his shaking hands to hold it, and tried his best to make his tone calm. Sent a WeChat voice message to Xiao Qingran. Qingran, are you free tomorrow night? I would like to treat you to a meal. I was rude yesterday and didn't consider your feelings. Please do me the favor. Xiao Qingran on the other end of the phone received Yiran's message and refused without thinking. Speak very tactfully. Well, I have something to do tomorrow night, so I may not have time. Sorry, Mr. Yi. Qingran, don't be so hasty to refuse. I promise you that as long as you agree to this small request of mine, I will never harass you again. I also want to make a break. Yiran then took out his trump card. He believed that if he asked Xiao Qingran not to harass him in the future, Xiao Qingran would definitely agree to his request. No, I even think that Xiao Qingran really hates me that much. Yiran felt a little hesitant in his heart and doubted his own charm. Don't you have even a little bit of charm? After hearing Yiran's promise not to harass her again, Xiao Qingran was obviously shaken. She picked up her phone and discussed it with her best friend Li Shui, asking for her opinion. Since Yiran has said so, I have to go even if I don't want to. Otherwise, it will be annoying to see him every day. But you have to tell your Prince Charming first, otherwise what if he sees and misunderstands? Li Shui spoke after careful consideration. There is no such thing as a Prince Charming. Don't talk nonsense. Xiao Qingran gently pushed Li Shui and spoke shyly. Your face is red, and you still say no. Li Shui teased as she looked at Xiao Qingran, whose face was visibly reddening. Finally, after a heated discussion between the two, they agreed. Okay. After seeing Xiao Qingran's news, Yiran finally felt relieved, as if things were not so bad and there was still hope for his future. There are cracks in everything, that's how the light gets in. Thinking of this, Yiran was filled with energy again. Xiao Qingran sent all the screenshots of his conversation with Yiran to Luo Shan. You said Yiran wanted to invite me out for dinner, what should I do? 1 hour 2 hours. Finally, at the second hour, 37 minutes and 13 seconds, Luo Shan finally sent Xiao Qingran a hum. Yes, just one hum. All that remained was silence. When Xiao Qingran saw this scene, he immediately lost his composure and started scratching his quilt in anger. Damn Los Angeles, bad Los Angeles. Okay, Luo Shan, right. I will deliberately get closer to Yiran tomorrow and make you mad to death. But on second thought, this action doesn't seem to anger Los Angeles, but will disgust myself instead. It's not worth it. So Xiao Qingran quickly put this idea out of his mind. This idea is too dangerous. Xiao Qingran, how could you come up with such a dangerous and disgusting thing? You can't think about it anymore. Los Angeles sat on the bed, looking at the colorful neon lights outside the window that highlighted the prosperity of the entire city. I couldn't help but wonder what Yiran was trying to do, but it was definitely not something good, so I still had to be careful. Although Yiran is no longer a threat, even a rabbit will bite when it is cornered. Who knows what kind of last-ditch effort Yiran will do? Luo Shan didn't think that Yiran was going to drug Xiao Qingran. After all, the protagonist always has to have some dignity, right? This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. You can't do such an immoral thing, right? But if I did it in Los Angeles, it wouldn't matter. I'm not a good person to begin with. There is a lack of human virtue, but there is no lack of shande. If I encounter something I can't get next time, I'll just drug it to save trouble. I'm just afraid that the woman will commit suicide after waking up. After all, the main purpose of the Girl of Destiny is to be chaste and loyal, so it would be a bit of a loss. What are you thinking about? It's getting late, time to go to bed. Su Rou looked at Luo Shan sitting on the bed, staring at the light outside the window, rubbed her sleepy eyes, stood up, hugged Luo Shan from behind, licked Luo Shan's earlobe with her nimble tongue, and then spoke. Nothing, I just thought that you were the one who took the initiative just now, now it's my turn. Luo Shan laughed and pounced on Su Rou's smooth skin. Originally, Yiran wanted to invite Xiao Qingran to the hot pot restaurant recommended by Xiao Qingran. After all, it was quite close to the hotel. And if we meet there, Xiao Qingran will definitely not become suspicious. But for some reason, the hot pot restaurant went bankrupt and was transferred. I heard that the boss was swimming in the river one day and drowned. I know it's summer now, but some people just like to swim in the river and I can't persuade them. Since elementary school, we have given you notices every summer vacation prohibiting you from playing or swimming in the water, but some of you really don't listen. He deserves to die. So Yiran asked Xiao Qingran to go to a more luxurious restaurant where the average cost per person was nearly 5,000 yuan. Now that Yiran had some assets, he didn't feel bad about having such a meal. The main thing is that there is a luxury hotel above this restaurant, which is very convenient. Yiran arrived at the luxurious restaurant very early. Yiran sat in the reserved window seat, and outside the window was a view of the city's neon lights. The dim lights and the soft lights in the restaurant complement each other, creating a warm yet stylish atmosphere. Exquisite tableware has been placed on the table, and each set of tableware sparkles with a delicate luster, revealing extraordinary quality. There are a few fresh lilies in the vase, exuding a faint fragrance, making the whole space more elegant. He was intoxicated by the beautiful music of Shu Yarn, played by the restaurant's exclusive violin team. Yiran kept staring at the door, feeling both expectant and a little nervous. Chapter 35, Capture Xiao Qingran. Xiao Qingran's figure appeared at the door after a while. The first thing Yiran saw was Xiao Qingran. He quickly stood up and waved to Xiao Qingran. Xiao Qingran walked quickly to Yiran, pulled the chair outward and then sat on it. As soon as he sat down, Xiao Qingran got straight to the point and said, Yiran, you promised me that as long as I come today, you won't bother me anymore, right? When Yiran heard Xiao Qingran's words, his heart suddenly sank. Does Qingran really hate me that much? But Yiran still opened his mouth and wanted to make a final struggle. After all, he didn't want to take the last step. His upbringing and qualities as the son of destiny prevent him from doing such a thing. Qingran, I really want to know if there is still a possibility between us. I really like you, can you give me a chance to prove it to you? Yiran's tone was full of sincerity and expectation, waiting for Xiao Qingran's reply. Xiao Qingran shook his head without even thinking. How am I worse than Los Angeles? That's a bit too far. No, Yiran, don't think too much. You're very good, but you can't force feelings. If you like someone, you like them. If you don't like someone, you don't like them. It's not about whether they are different or not. Xiao Qingran spoke softly, but his words were full of rejection. Okay, Xiao Qingran, since you are so unkind, don't blame me for being unfair. Hearing this, Yiren gave up the last bit of fantasy in his heart, and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. Well, I will keep my promise. I just want to talk to you today. After today, I will not harass you again. The light in Yiran's eyes gradually dimmed, and the struggle in his heart turned into a bitterness. He took a deep breath, forced a smile, and handed the menu to Xiao Qingran. Let's eat first, Qingran, take a look at what you like to eat and order the dishes. Xiao Qingran took the menu and looked at the dishes on the menu, all of which had prices of at least four figures. He couldn't help but suspect that Yiran had won the lottery. He looked very ordinary, so how could he afford such an expensive restaurant? However, he didn't say much. Then Xiao Qingran ordered 2 dishes at random and handed the menu back to Yiran. Yiran also ordered 2 dishes and handed them to the waiter. After a while, several beautifully presented dishes were brought to the table. During the meal, the atmosphere was a little awkward yet polite. Xiao Qingran took 2 bites. It was delicious, but he felt it was not worth the price. I'm going to the bathroom first. Xiao Qingran suddenly felt a little uncomfortable in her stomach. She frowned and said to Yiran, then got up and went to the bathroom. Seeing the opportunity, Yiran looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to him, so he quickly took out a small porcelain bottle from his arms. He opened the cap of the small porcelain bottle, scooped out a little bit and quickly put it in Xiao Qingran's water cup, then stirred it until it melted. This medicine is colorless and odorless, and there is absolutely no difference from the previous one. So Yiran was thinking of doing this. Shameless tilde obscene tilde, this kind of thing should be done by someone like me. In fact, Luo Shan also arrived at the restaurant early in the morning. The first thing Xiao Qingran did when he received Yiran's message was to inform Luo Shan of the restaurant's address. But all I got was still a simple hum. However, Los Angeles still came here. After all, he could not make any mistakes in the final harvest time. The main thing for us villains is to be cautious. Luo Shan was wearing a mask and his baseball cap was pulled down low. He was hiding in the shadow of the corner, so Yiran couldn't see Luo Shan at all. Luo Shan had been watching the situation over there with Yiran. He saw Yiran take out a small porcelain bottle, stealthily took out a little and put it into Xiao Qingran's water cup. Luo Shan immediately confirmed that Yiran was definitely not up to anything good. But Luo Shan really didn't expect that Yiran actually wanted to drug Xiao Qingran. Is this something you, a child of destiny, can do? Does this fit your personality? After a while, Xiao Qingran came back from the bathroom and sat back in his seat. Yiran tried his best to remain calm, as if nothing had happened. But Yiran was still very nervous. He stared at Xiao Qingran closely without relaxing his eyes for a moment, and sweat slowly appeared on his forehead. Finally, after watching Xiao Qingran finish the glass of water, Yiran finally felt relieved and breathed a sigh of relief. It's so hot. Why is it so hot? As Xiao Qingran was eating, he felt the temperature around him rising a lot. He was sweating all over and his breathing was rapid. He even thought about taking off the only t-shirt on his body. Yiran, do you feel hot? Xiao Qingran felt dizzy and wanted to stand up, but his legs felt weak. He had to hold onto the table and sit down again. I feel okay, Qingran, are you sick? If you are sick, I will take you back, right? Yiran felt a little guilty and didn't dare to look directly into Xiao Qingran's dazed eyes. He looked around and spoke as if nothing had happened. Xiao Qingran raised his head, and everything in front of him was blurry. He even saw a double image of Yiran, which then gradually merged into one with the Luo Shan in his mind. Yiran, thank you. The waiter pays the bill. Yiran looked at Xiao Qingran and saw that she had realized that the effect of her strong aphrodisiac had taken effect. A smile appeared on her face. Now it was time to move on to the second battlefield, so she quickly called the waiter. Hello sir, the total consumption is 12,345 yuan, including the 10% service charge. I will charge you 12,000 yuan. How do I pay? A sweet-looking waitress came over, holding the bill in her hand, glanced at the two of them and smiled sweetly. Looking at the two men, the waiter cursed them in his heart, calling them beasts and bastards. But she didn't come out to stop it. Yiran took out his mobile phone, opened the payment code, and paid. Yiran stretched out his hand to support Xiao Qingran. Although Xiao Qingran's mind had been mostly destroyed by the strong aphrodisiac, he was still lucid for a moment. He still kept a distance from Yiran at all times and did not let Yiran touch him at all. After leaving the restaurant, Xiao Qingran spoke in a daze. "Thank you, Yiran. Just drop me off here. I can take a taxi back for the rest." "Okay, I'll wait for you here. I won't leave until you get in the car. Otherwise, it's not safe for you to be alone." Yiran stood in place, keeping a certain distance from Xiao Qingran. He was not in a hurry because the effect of the medicine had not yet completely evaporated. By the time the drug's effects have completely worn off, no one will be able to resist it, even if you've quit drugs. He wants Xiao Qingran to kneel down and beg him before he can favor her. "This is my punishment for you." Xiao Qingran nodded and took out his cell phone to hail a taxi, but his hands were shaking so much that he couldn't hold it steady. "Qingran, how about I help you?" Yiran leaned over and said to Xiao Qingran. Luo Shan picked up a wooden stick that was more convenient to use, watched Yiran walking forward steadily, and hit Yiran hard on the head with the stick. Yiran felt a black screen before his eyes and then he passed out. Like drugging? Try it yourself." Luo Shan then rummaged around in Yiran's arms and finally found a small porcelain bottle. Only a little of the contents inside were used, and there was still a large bottle left. Then Luo Shan poured the remaining half of the bottle into Yiran's mouth. Luo Shan walked forward and supported Xiao Qingran, who was now completely unconscious. Xiao Qingran's whole body was flushed, his eyes were blurred, and his t-shirt was soaked with sweat. Xiao Qingran tried to pull at his clothes, but was held down by Luo Shan. "What do you want to do on the street? I am a proud and respectable person in Los Angeles and I don't have the habit of doing such things on the street." Xiao Qingran opened and closed her small mouth, breathing hot air towards Luo Shan's face, looking extremely seductive. Xiao Qingran's rosy mouth opened and closed. "I'm about to explode. If you get any closer, I'll explode. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. This is the principle that Los Angeles believes in. Xiao Qingran is in this state now, I have to save him, otherwise what if he gets worried to death? I am a kind person by nature and cannot bear to see the sufferings in the world." So Luo Shan had no choice but to take Xiao Qingran to their hotel upstairs and book a room. "Should I thank Yiran?" As soon as he entered the room, Xiao Qingran reached out and tore his clothes. Then the flawless white skin appeared in front of Los Angeles. Her belly is flat without any fat, her thighs are round and slender, and her lines are smooth, like a beautifully carved work of art. "The clothes are expensive, please stop tearing them." Luo Shan looked at his clothes, all of which were branded goods, and saw them being torn like this, so he quickly spoke up. "You can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. Why are you so impatient? I can do it myself." Seeing Xiao Qingran who was unconscious, Luo Shan decided to take action himself. Xiao Qingran doesn't look like he can do anything serious right now. Luo Shan's mouth was blocked by Xiao Qingran, who held Luo Shan's neck with his hands. Luo Shan couldn't say a word and could only whimper. Xiao Qingran then pushed Luo Shan forward heavily, and Luo Shan fell on the soft bed. Chapter 36. After Yiran wakes up. "Where am I?" When Yiran got up, he felt sore back and waist, dizzy head, and splitting pain in the back of his head, so he hit his head hard and thought about what happened yesterday. Yiran couldn't remember anything about what happened after dinner yesterday. All he could remember was that he had drugged Xiao Qingran last night, and watched with his own eyes as Xiao Qingran drank the glass of drugged water, and then waited for the drug to take effect. After the drug took effect, he wanted to take Xiao Qingran to their hotel, and then he felt a black screen in front of his eyes. And then Yiran really couldn't remember what happened at all. Yiran looked around and found that this was a completely unfamiliar environment. But Yiran was sure that this must be in a hotel room. After all, the layout of the room is so classic. And now he was lying naked on the soft bed in this hotel, and next to him was a naked woman with long hair sleeping. The woman's entire head was buried in the quilt, making it impossible to see her face clearly. Yiran sniffed and found a confusing smell in the air of the hotel. It was obvious that there had been a great battle in the room. Suddenly, an extremely comfortable and pleasant voice came from the woman next to Yiran. "Comfortable." When Yiran heard the voice, his eyes narrowed, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he was in a very good mood. "Although I have no memory of yesterday and did not enjoy any sexual pleasure at all." But the ending is always good, and Xiao Qingran finally got it. Yuran was certain that this woman must be Xiao Qingran. He saw with his own eyes yesterday that Xiao Qingran drank the glass of water that he had drugged. No one can control themselves after drinking the medicine, no one. Xiao Qingran poked her head out from under the quilt, her long hair covering most of her face, and as Xiao Qingran was lying sideways with her back facing Yuran. When Yuran saw Xiao Qingran's curvy and perfect body, his heart was immediately distracted. Although he was a little disappointed that he didn't experience the feeling of life and death last night, it was not too late to experience it now. So Yuran unconsciously stretched out his hand and stroked Xiao Qingran's smooth skin from top to bottom, as if he was stroking a rare piece of porcelain. "Sir, you're awake. Why did you wake up so early? Sleep a little longer. You were really amazing yesterday. 3 hours, a full 3 hours. I haven't felt so good in a long time." "No, sir, you are not tired yet. Do you want more? If you want to fight, then let's fight." Upon hearing this, Yuran became even happier. Xiao Qingran was indeed conquered by his own strength. Just as Yuran was looking forward to it, that Xiao Qingran turned his head, and his entire face was reflected in Yuran's eyes. "No, you are not Xiao Qingran, who are you?" The first time Yuran saw this face, he was completely stunned. He stepped back repeatedly holding the quilt, with 3 parts of fear, 3 parts of surprise and 4 parts of disgust in his eyes. What kind of face was that? The woman was about 30 years old, with small, invisible eyes on her broad face, and her dark yellow face was covered with spots and blemishes. Buck teeth gave her upper and lower jaws a noticeable bulge. His lips were colorless like a dried-up, cracked river, and his nose was like a flattened potato. Their whole face exudes an ugly aura. It's strange that she looks so ugly despite having such a good figure. How could I last 3 hours like this? How did I hold it in? How could I go on like this? My name is Xiao Wu, the Wu that means dancing. Sir, have you forgotten? Xiao Wu looked at Yuran and unconsciously moved forward, wanting to comfort Yuran, who was as frightened as a little rabbit. Wait a minute, you're right there, don't come over, don't get close to me. Yuran looked at Xiao Wu who was approaching him little by little, and unconsciously moved back 2 steps. The fear in his heart grew even stronger, and he suppressed the urge to vomit and shouted. "Why is it you? No, where's Qingran? Where's Qingran? Wasn't it supposed to be me and Qingran yesterday?" Yuran immediately fell into deep self-doubt, but his mind was in a mess and he couldn't remember what happened yesterday. "My dear, what's wrong with you? My name is Xiao Wu. Maybe you remembered it wrongly. My name is not Qingran. Get out of here. Right now, I don't want to see you again." Yuran looked at Xiao Wu and scolded her harshly, his mind still a mess. "What the hell, who was it that hugged me and said that he loved me yesterday? If you hadn't given me money, I wouldn't have come. What's wrong? Are you going to deny it after playing? Forget it, pay the bill. Hurry up and pay me. I'm leaving now." When Xiao Wu heard Yuran's voice, she also became angry. She stood up, put on her clothes, walked in front of Yuran and stretched out her hand. "You still want money? You're just smiling secretly because I didn't ask you for money. Now get out of here right now while I'm not losing my temper." Yuran cried out heartbreakingly, as if his most precious things had been ruined by this woman. There was even a line of tears sliding down Yuran's face from the corners of his eyes. "Humptilder, last night you were downstairs, and whenever you caught a woman you said, 'I'll give you money, I have lots of money, as long as you're willing to go upstairs with me.' Aren't you a psychopath?" My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. In the end, I was the only one who accompanied you upstairs because I felt sorry for you. Last night, you kept calling me baby and a wife, and you lay on top of me and said touching words of love to me. You're so greedy now that you don't deserve to be a human being, right? Then call the police. Call the police. If I don't have a good life, you won't have one either. Xiao Wu spoke up, thinking to herself, she didn't expect that the person she just randomly looked for downstairs would actually find a treasure. He was indeed much stronger than her previous customers. But to be honest, Xiao Wu doesn't have many customers. It's been more than half a year and there has been no business. Any man who sees her face will run away faster than anyone else. He carried the load on the train all night long. But this night was happier than the past 3 years. Wu Tilder, listening to Xiao Wu's description, Yiran felt his stomach churning. He quickly picked up the trash can and spit out some acid. Pay the money quickly or I'll call the police. Xiao Wu urged from the side. Get out. Yiran's angry voice echoed throughout the room, making people's heads buzz. Just go away, why are you shouting? Xiao Wu was counting a full 1,000 yuan in Chinese currency in her hand, and her face seemed to be full of smiles. It would have been fine if she hadn't smiled, because when she smiled her eyes looked even smaller. You can always come to me in the future. I'll give you a discount next time as long as it's you. Customers are welcome to come next time. Remember, my name is Xiao Wu. It's comfortable and you can make money, isn't this a paradise life? Xiao Wu turned around and walked towards the door. Yiran looked at Xiao Wu's back. Apart from her face, this little beauty had everything else that was perfect, with long, slender legs and a well-proportioned figure. But Yiran saw the face, and this face made Yiran feel very uncomfortable and even disgusted. Are you closing the shop for customers? And my contact information, are you sure you don't need it? I can also do it for free. Roll. After Xiao Wu left, Yiran understood what the woman said and realized that he must have been drugged by the strong aphrodisiac. But wasn't he this the drug I gave to Xiao Qingran? How come I was the one who got poisoned in the end? It's true that no one can resist that aphrodisiac, including myself. I saw Xiao Qingran drink that cup of stuff with my own eyes. Could it be that Xiao Qingran found out? But how did she find out? This left Yiran completely puzzled. He quickly picked up his clothes from the ground and looked for his aphrodisiac. I searched everywhere but couldn't find the small porcelain bottle. Yiran then ran to the bathroom and used the shower to rinse his entire body carefully, as if he wanted to wash away all the dirt on his body. The marks on the body can be washed away, but what about the trauma in the heart? What about my chastity of more than 20 years? Ding, congratulations to the host for causing the Son of Destiny, Yiran, to collapse and successfully plundering all of his remaining luck points. Chapter 37 More unjust than Do-E. The other side. R. The whole room was filled with Xiao Qingran's hoarse cries. Xiao Qingran grasped a corner of the quilt tightly with both hands. She lifted the quilt, lowered her head and saw her snow-white body. Xiao Qingran stared at Luo Shan, who was sleeping beside him with red eyes, and asked loudly. How come we are here? No, how come you are here? Why are you in the same bed with me? Los Angeles, what did you do to me? Beast. You are beast. Why are you scolding me? What did I do? Can we talk some sense? Luo Shan opened his eyes dazedly with a look of confusion on his face, then looked at Xiao Qingran and spoke slowly. In fact, Los Angeles had woken up a long time ago, but he was pretending to be asleep. You still want to deny it even now? How could you do such an unforgivable thing? You've ruined my innocence. Xiao Qingran picked up the quilt to cover her face, sobbing softly, her tears streaming down her face, wetting a corner of the quilt. Don't be ridiculous. I didn't do anything. Luo Shan quickly shook his hand. You didn't? Then how come we are in the same room, lying on the same bed, and what's the red spot on the bed? I didn't expect you to be this kind of person, Los Angeles. Xiao Qingran's eyes swept over Luo Shan's muscular body. Oh, he has a good figure. No, what am I thinking about? You are responsible for me. Xiao Qingran stared at Luo Shan and spoke. Luckily I kept the evidence, otherwise I would have been blackmailed by you. As Luo Shan spoke, he walked to the table opposite the bed, where a mobile phone was placed, with the camera of the phone pointed at the two people on the bed. Luo Shan picked up the phone and checked it and found that there was nothing wrong with the recorded content, so he handed it to Xiao Qingran and spoke at the same time. Look for yourself, you want to blackmail me, are you kidding me? No one can blackmail me. I still have to hold you accountable. I am not a clean person anymore. You are blatantly slandering me and damaging my reputation. This video can't be fake, right? Xiao Qingran took the phone, which was playing a video. The content of the video made Xiao Qingran blush. There are only two people in the picture, Los Angeles and himself. The scene is simple and there are few actors. After only watching for a few minutes and seeing a picture, Xiao Qingran felt ashamed and quickly put the phone aside. Xiao Qingran quickly got up and ran into the bathroom, vomiting into the basin. This behavior of mine makes me feel sick. Is this still me? The video on her mobile phone showed herself calling Los Angeles baby and husband over and over again. The actions and behaviors are extremely intimate. A moment later, Xiao Qingran returned to the bed, sat up by the edge of the bed. Her eyes fell on Luo Shan. Her beautiful cheeks were faintly flushed with shyness. Xiao Qingran leaned against the head of the bed, and it took her a long time to come back to her senses. She remembered, didn't she have dinner with Yiran last night? But I have no memory of what happened after the meal. I just remember that I had a dream in which I was playing some interesting games with Los Angeles. I didn't expect that it wasn't a dream, it was actually real. What on earth is going on? Xiao Qingran turned his head, his eyes full of confusion and bewilderment, and looked at Luo Shan for an answer. Seeing that Xiao Qingran had calmed down, Luo Shan told Xiao Qingran everything that happened yesterday, including the causes and consequences of the incident and his own embellishments. You mean, Yiran secretly drugged me? That's why I became like this? You saved me. Xiao Qingran's tone was filled with shock and anger, and a cold light covered her entire face. She had never expected Yiran to use such despicable means. Yes, that's right. I have already taught Yiran a lesson. Los Angeles nodded heavily and said, I still have to thank him. No, then how did you know that Yiran drugged me, and how did you save me? Xiao Qingran looked at Luo Shan again and asked. I was worried about you. So I followed you secretly, but I didn't expect Yiran to do something worse than an animal. I just happened to see him. Luo Shan lowered his eyes slightly, his gaze inadvertently tilted towards Xiao Qingran, his voice sounding a bit shy and uncomfortable. When Xiao Qingran saw this, he couldn't help but feel a warm current in his heart and felt sweet in his heart. Her eyes curved into crescent shapes, flashing with gentle light. Luo Shan still has her in his heart. Otherwise, why would he follow me here? Well, now that you've done this, even though I took the initiative, you took away my virginity, so you still have to be responsible for me. Xiao Qingran climbed onto Luo Shan's body, stared at him and spoke. Why were you so mean to me just now? You are wronging me. I am more wrong than Dou-yi. I'm helping you. Logically speaking, you should be responsible for me. Los Angeles took the initiative and spoke. I'm sorry. Didn't I understand the whole story just now? This is a reward for you. I am responsible for you, don't be angry. Xiao Qingran pouted her lips, leaned down, and gave Luo Shan a hard kiss on the mouth. After a while, Xiao Qingran snuggled in Luo Shan's arms, looking at Luo Shan with a plump face. This Los Angeles situation caught me completely unprepared. Xiao Qingran buried his head in Luo Shan's arms, then looked at Luo Shan and spoke seriously. Luo Shan, now that you have my body, you will treat me well, right? Of course. You are my wife, I will definitely treat you well. Luo Shan hugged Xiao Qingran's delicate body tightly while drawing a big picture. Then, what about that woman? Your girlfriend? Xiao Qingran looked at Luo Shan and asked. Qingran, you are not my only woman, and I don't want to deceive you. It's not fair to you. Then I will definitely be good to both of you at the same time. My love for you is the same. My heart is broken into many pieces, but every piece is sincere. Los Angeles spoke up. Chapter 38 Getting Along Well. If I asked you to choose only one of the two of us, who would you choose? Xiao Qingran raised his head and looked at Luo Shan with a complicated look in his eyes, waiting for Luo Shan's answer. I'm sorry, I like all of you, it's really hard to choose. Luo Shan sighed and spoke slowly. You clearly loved me so much before, couldn't you just love me? Xiao Qingran's voice was tearful, and he stared at Luo Shan with red eyes, wanting to see Luo Shan's reaction. Qingran, I love you but I also love other people. If you can accept that, then accept it. If it's because you gave up on other people, I can't do that, so you can leave on your own. Luo Shan stood up and slowly put on the clothes scattered around, then spoke to Xiao Qingran and said that of course he would not give up an entire forest for a tree. And his feelings for Xiao Qingran are almost zero. I will compensate you. Just tell me how much you want. I will definitely satisfy you. Money? Do you think I'm a prostitute? Am I a cheap person? Do you think I'm here just for your money? Xiao Qingran was yelling at Luo Shan, his emotions were a little out of control. Since you can't accept it, there's nothing I can do. My love is the same for both of you. I'll leave first, and from now on we can just pretend that this never happened. Los Angeles had already put on his shirt and was getting ready to get out of bed. Don't go. Actually, I don't blame you. After all, this happened suddenly, and you weren't prepared to take me. I won't leave you, as long as you have me in your heart. Seeing that Luo Shan really looked like he was about to leave, Xiao Qingran softened and spoke to Luo Shan. Since you still can't accept it. Huh? What did you say? Luo Shan was still preparing to reason with Xiao Qingran and appeal to his emotions, and then use some moral blackmail, but I was about to start talking about values. But after hearing Xiao Qingran's words, Luo Shan didn't know what to say for a moment. You agreed without me even saying all this. All the preparation for so long was in vain. These girls of destiny are really too sensible. The authors of these novels have trained them very well. They are too open-minded. So Luo Shan activated the system to check Xiao Qingran's favorability towards him. I didn't expect that Xiao Qingran's favorability towards me has reached 80. I said, I don't mind you having several women, but you have to treat me well, otherwise I won't forgive you. Xiao Qingran opened her mouth, revealing her cute little fangs, bit Luo Shan on the shoulder, and then punched Luo Shan with her little pink fists. What about you just now? Luo Shan spoke in a very strange tone, as Xiao Qingran looked like he was about to die just now. I was just testing your sincerity. If you can give up other sisters for me, you might abandon me for another woman someday. But since you're still so sincere, I'll let it go and let you go. When will you bring your sister over? Let's get to know each other. I want to see what kind of charm she has. You don't think I'm a petty woman, do you? Xiao Qingran smiled obediently and said casually. Xiao Qingran certainly minded the fact that Luo Shan had another woman, but she was more afraid of Luo Shan leaving her than having a few more sisters. Any time is fine. How about I let you meet now? Los Angeles suggested. Sure, I can do anything. Xiao Qingran smiled sweetly at Luo Shan. Then Luo Shan called Lin Qinxia. Hey, honey, are you okay now? If not, come to the Sky Sail Hotel. I have something to tell you. Okay, we'll be there in about 30 minutes. Honey, be careful on the road. Luo Shan hung up the phone, and Xiao Qingran spoke jealously beside him. You keep saying wife is short and wife is long. Who's jealous? Why does it taste so sour? Los Angeles fanned his nose exaggeratedly. If you dare to laugh at me, I'll bite you. Xiao Qingran lay in Luo Shan's arms again, opened his mouth and bit Luo Shan's arm. Please delete your video immediately, it's so embarrassing, otherwise you will be in trouble. While they were laughing and joking, Xiao Qingran suddenly remembered that Luo Shan had actually recorded a video of his courtship last night, so he quickly spoke. No, just keep it as a souvenir. Luo Shan said with a wicked smile. About half an hour later, there was a knock on the door of the room. Seeing Luo Shan coming out to open the door wearing a bath towel, Lin Qinxia quickly threw herself into Luo Shan's arms and spoke excitedly. Husband, what's wrong? You asked me to come here. Do you want to love me hard? What are you thinking about? Come in first. Luo Shan knocked on Lin Qinxia's head, then pulled Lin Qinxia into the house. Are there still guests in the hotel? After entering the room, Lin Qinxia noticed Xiao Qingran lying on the bed and spoke. But then Lin Qinxia immediately understood what was going on and couldn't help but glare at Luo Shan. Lin Qinxia naturally knew that Luo Shan was an excellent person and there must be many women around him. As long as Luo Shan could give her a little love, it would be enough. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. But Lin Qinxia didn't expect that she would have a sister so soon. So Lin Qinxia grabbed Luo Shan's ear and whispered in his ear. I don't care if you have other women, but if you dare to treat me and my mother badly, you're dead. Definitely not. Luo Shan quickly raised his hand and assured. After hearing Luo Shan's assurance, Lin Qinxia let go of the hand that was holding Luo Shan's ear. Xiao Qingran spoke to Lin Qinxia. My name is Xiao Qingran, you can just call me Sister Qingran. My name is Lin Qinxia. Lin Qinxia felt familiar with the name. She thought for a moment and suddenly spoke. Are you Xiao Qingran, the campus beauty of Jinghai University? I've heard of you. You are really beautiful. You are not as pretty as Sister Qinxia, so I will call you Sister Qinxia from now on. Sister Qinxia, are you also from Jinghai University? When Xiao Qingran heard that Lin Qinxia had heard of his name, he opened his mouth and asked. Yeah. Lin Qinxia nodded immediately, then glanced at Luo Shan and said. Luo Shan is so lucky to be able to win over all the school beauties. If Luo Shan makes you angry in the future, just tell me and I will help you teach Luo Shan a lesson. Okay. Let's teach Luo Shan a lesson together. Xiao Qingran nodded and looked at Luo Shan at the same time. The two quickly formed a united front and became good sisters. What does this have to do with me? Luo Shan was speechless. Los Angeles watched the two of them bragging about their business, and thought that the two women seemed to be getting along very well. He was just in such a harmonious relationship that he seemed to have forgotten about Los Angeles next to him. Los Angeles will definitely not allow such a situation to happen. However, what made Xiao Qingran uncomfortable was that he could only watch from the side and could not do anything else. Chapter 39, Yiran's Death Part 1. Yiran stepped out of the hotel door, although the sun outside was still scorching, harsh and dazzling. But it couldn't shine into Yiran's dark and helpless heart. Yiran felt that his life was over. Yiran thought a lot in the hotel, and finally figured out a lot of things. Since I saw Xiao Qingran drink the medicine with my own eyes, it proves that the aphrodisiac will definitely work. My eyes went dark and I suddenly fainted. It must be because someone had done something to me. After all, my neck still hurts. And that person robbed him of the fruits of his impending victory. And that man also gave me a lot of aphrodisiacs and made me sleep with an ugly girl, breaking my virginity of more than 20 years. As for who that person was, Yiran already had the answer in his mind. That person was Luo Shan. There's no reason, it's just pure intuition. Because he couldn't think of anyone else except Los Angeles, and only Los Angeles could do such a thing. Doesn't he that prove that my Qingran has been murdered? I will not be a human being if I don't take revenge. Los Angeles, I want you dead. Huh? Why can't you open the door? Yiran returned home, stood at the door, picked up the key and inserted it into the keyhole. Yiran was surprised to find that the key in his hand could not open the door. After a moment, Yiran had to face a very realistic and serious problem. Damn, why did they change the lock? Su Rou actually changed the lock of her house. Who was she protecting from? Of course, she was protecting from Yiran. Mom, have you made up your mind that you don't want me as your son? Is the relationship between us as mother and son even worse than that between Los Angeles? Yiran stood blankly at the door, looking at the door that was so familiar to him. But is this still my home now? Yiran then slammed the door of his house hard. The sound was like thunder. But at this moment, Su Rou is at work and not at home. But Su Rou was not at home, so there must be someone in this building. Yiran's knocking on the door was heard throughout the building. The neighbor next to Su Rou opened the door, stuck her head out, looked at Yiran and spoke. Are you crazy? If the person is not at home, then he is not at home. Why are you knocking on the door so loudly? Did your wife run away? Or is your mother dead? Say that again. If you dare to say it again, I'll kill you. Get out. Yiran turned around and roared at him, pressing closer and closer to him. You're really sick in the brain. The man looked at Yiran's eyes full of hostility and thought that it was better to have less trouble, so he quickly closed the door and refused to open it no matter how Yiran shouted. It's impossible to reason with a psychopath. Yiran stood at the door and kept shouting but no one responded. He was tired of shouting and squatted helplessly on the stairs. Now there is only one voice echoing in Yiran's heart, and that is to kill Luo Shan. It was because of Los Angeles' mother that she broke up with herself. As long as he kills Los Angeles' mother, she will become the same as before, and she will still be as good to him as before. And once Luo Shan dies, Xiao Qingran will be able to return to his arms again. Qingran, you were forced. I, Yiran, absolutely do not despise you, but I have to bear the injustice that you cannot be my main wife. The only obstacle between him and Xiao Qingran is Luo Shan. As long as Los Angeles dies, all problems will be solved. Night falls in an abandoned factory in the suburbs. Just you? Are you sure you can do this? Our target is a master who should not be underestimated. Yiran looked at the thin man in front of him, his eyes full of distrust. Yiran himself does not have the ability to kill Luo Shan directly. But he had money, so Yiran asked a man he had recently met, who was said to be a gangster boss in Jinghai, to issue a reward for murder. The bounty was a huge sum of 20 million, which was Yiran's entire fortune now. There will always be brave men when there is a big reward. 2 days later, the man in front of me contacted me and said that he could help me kill the person and deal with the body without leaving any traces. No one will come to Yiran. Friends who often kill people know that killing is easy, but dealing with the body is difficult. No matter how Yiran looked at it, he didn't think that this man was someone who could kill people, because this man looked very ordinary. It feels a bit uncertain. Of course. I have killed many masters. The thin man opposite was obviously very confident in his skills. With a bloodthirsty light flashing in his eyes, he spoke. Good. Yiran walked forward and gently patted the middle-aged man on the shoulder to show encouragement. But suddenly a gleam of light flashed in Yiran's eyes, and he exerted force with his hands and tightly grasped the man's shoulders. He wanted to test the man's true strength. Don't move. The brief and powerful warning made Yiran's heart tremble. Yiran raised his head and looked at the black muzzle of the gun pointed straight at him, feeling a sense of fear from the bottom of his heart. No wonder this man is so confident, it turns out he has arms. This kind of thing is a very serious contraband in China. How did he get it? Har har, I was just joking. You have successfully passed my test. I recognize you. Put down your gun first. Yiran smiled awkwardly, spoke quickly, and quickly dropped his hand from the man's shoulder, fearing that the gun would go off accidentally and kill him. Facing a pistol, my limited skills are really not enough. But despite the fear, Yiran was very excited inside. With this thing, how could Luo Shan not die? After the deal is done, don't worry, I won't give you a penny less than 20 million. This is the deposit first. Yiran took out a large box from behind him, which contained 3 million Chinese yuan, which was the deposit. The man put away his gun, his expression still as cold as ice, and just nodded slightly in response. His eyes seemed to contain countless unfinished stories, making them hard to fathom. It was as if he was a natural-born killer. Tomorrow, I will call that man here. You will find an opportunity in the dark to shoot him. The rest of the cleanup work will be left to you. This is what he looks like. Yiran picked up her phone and placed the photo of Los Angeles in front of the man. Yeah. The man took a look at the phone and memoized it in his mind. His expression did not change at all. He remained indifferent and nodded. That calmness and concentration made Yiran believe that his choice this time was the right one. It seems that this person is indeed a master. Yiran nodded with satisfaction, and then walked out of the abandoned factory. After walking around for a long time and seeing that no one was following him, he walked to the side of the road, hailed a taxi, and took it back home. Now all they need to do is invite Luo Shan to the abandoned factory. As for how to get him there, Yiran already has a plan in mind. Chapter 40: Yiran's death. Yiran was flipping through the chat records between Su Rou and Luo Shan. This is Su Rou's cell phone, which Yiran stole from Su Rou specifically. Since the door lock has been changed. So Yiran had no choice but to follow the pipe on the roof and climb back to his home with great effort. Following the pipeline, Yiran saw everything that happened to his neighbors. Yiran could only say that it was somewhat exciting. If I wasn't strong enough, I would have fallen down and been smashed to pieces, and died instantly. Then Yiran took advantage of Su Rou falling asleep and stole the phone from her room. Su Rou did not have the habit of deleting chat records, but she deleted all the photos sent to Luo Shan. After all, Su Rou herself felt a little embarrassed looking at those photos. Therefore, the chat history between Luo Shan and Su Rou was visible to Luo Shan. Those undeleted chat records in Su Rou's phone were like sharp blades, cutting Yiran's heart. The chat history contained Su Rou's teasing words that were almost flattering. Yiran looked at the messages Su Rou sent to Luo Shan, and he was furious. Is this the mother who usually looks so majestic in front of him? Are you full of appearance in front of others? After Yiran looked at the chat records of the past few days, he didn't have the courage to continue reading. I felt like I was having a myocardial infarction just by reading these few paragraphs. If I read any more, I wouldn't even have to wait for the people I arranged to take action. I might have to leave before Los Angeles. Is this what you two usually talk about? Can you talk about something more nutritious? Fortunately, Su Rou deleted those exciting private photos that she sent to Luo Shan, otherwise Yiran might have jumped off the building after seeing them. Honey, are you free tonight? Yiran's body trembled slightly. She suppressed her nausea and tried her best to imitate Su Rou's tone of voice, typing the two disgusting words, husband. This is what Yiran thought of. She pretended to be her mother to trick Luo Shan out and then killed him. Although it was stupid, it was very useful. Based on his understanding of Los Angeles, he didn't believe that Los Angeles could resist such temptation. Between words, he tried to make his tone sound gentle and expectant, even though it was an indescribable torture for him. Yiran typed these words on Su Rou's phone, then clicked the send button to send it out. Yiran silently said in his heart that only those who endure the most hardships can become the best. How can you see the rainbow without going through the wind and rain? You have to stay calm, stay restrained, and never let Los Angeles see any flaws. About 10 minutes later, Los Angeles replied. What's wrong? Honey, do you miss me again? Or do you want my love? Yiran looked at these words. These were also the words that Luo Shan often sent to Su Rou. There was no flaw at all. Yiran wanted to tear Luo Shan apart with his bare hands, but now Yiran could only send a humiliating ham and continue sending messages. Honey, I miss you. Also, honey, I found a fun place, will you come with me? Just promise me. Looking at the 3 question marks coming from the other side, Yiran's fingers trembled slightly. Why, wife, are you in such a high mood? Aren't you having fun at home? Do you need to be somewhere else? It feels different in other places, and there are special skins. Yiran sent a message. After a long silence, Los Angeles finally agreed. See you tonight. I've explored that place before, and there really is no one there. It must be exciting, especially in the middle of nowhere. Yiran sent the address of the abandoned factory and agreed on the location. Night. Luo Shan arrived in the suburbs on time as Su Rou requested, and pushed the door into an abandoned factory. Inside the factory, it was pitch black, with only a dimly lit light bulb hanging alone in the air, illuminating a large area of space. Wife! Wife! Luo Shan looked around and saw that Su Rou was not there, so he smiled slightly and spoke. Wife, why did you choose this place? Why don't you show up and come find me? I know, you want to play a game with me, right? Hide and seek. Then I'll come find you. Luo Shan chuckled and walked around the small warehouse, looking for Su Rou's trace. As he walked, Luo Shan kept calling Su Rou's name. At this moment, the door of the warehouse was suddenly slammed shut, making a loud bang that echoed in the empty factory. Luo Shan turned around abruptly and saw that the door was closed. The originally dim light bulb suddenly went out, and the whole warehouse was instantly plunged into darkness where he could not see his hand in front of him. Luo Shan's face instantly turned ugly when he saw this. He quickly looked around and the smile on his face widened. The atmosphere was pretty good. But Los Angeles still pretended to be anxious and shouted. Wife, stop playing and come out. Why are you doing this? Are you still playing? Su Rou, if you don't come out, I will be angry, and you will leave, and you will not be able to get my love. Luo Shan calmed himself down and started to speak, but his words were trembling slightly, and he was obviously very scared. Who are you looking for? Are you looking for me? This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. As Yiran finished his words, the warehouse suddenly lit up with lights as bright as day, locking onto Luo Shan's figure. Yiran appeared in the halo with a middle-aged man. Their eyes were cold and resolute, like hunters locking onto their prey. Luo Shan naturally saw Yiran's figure. Luo Shan's face instantly turned cold. He looked at Yiran and spoke. Yiran? Why are you here? Where's your mother? Where's Su Rou? Los Angeles, you didn't expect it to be me, did you? Yiran's voice echoed in the factory, carrying with it long-suppressed anger and the pleasure of revenge. Actually, it was me who asked you to come here. When I was chatting with you, every word I typed made me want to vomit. HMPH tilde Luo Shan, today is the day you die. I want you to die. Yiran's eyes were full of red as he stared at Luo Shan, his body trembling slightly with joy, and his words were full of madness and excitement. I have finally waited for this day. Just you? Even if you trick me here, what can you do to me? Luo Shan's face didn't show any ripples. He looked straight at Yiran as if he didn't take Yiran seriously at all. Yes, I am no match for you, but since you have fallen into my trap, don't even think about leaving. Go ahead. You can't escape today. Yiran was very confident and spoke calmly to the middle-aged man beside him. The middle-aged man looked calm. He nodded when he heard this, then pulled out a pistol from his arms and pointed it straight at Los Angeles' forehead. Luo Shan's face froze. Los Angeles, if you kneel down and beg me now, I might show leniency and let you go. Yiran had an expression as if he was in control of the overall situation. He put his hands behind his back, looked at Luo Shan and spoke with a smile. However, the expression of fear and pleading for mercy on Luo Shan's face that Yiran imagined did not appear. Instead, Luo Shan looked at Yiran as if he was looking at a clown. Chapter 41 Yiran's Death. Okay, I've had enough of acting with you. Luo Shan clapped his hands and looked at Yiran with a bright smile on his face. How's it going? Do you think my acting is okay? Seeing this, the middle-aged man put away his pistol, smiled at Los Angeles, walked to Los Angeles unnoticed, stopped, and flattered Los Angeles. Young master's acting is indeed very lifelike. I can't see any flaws at all. You tilder, aren't you hired by me? Yiran's eyes wandered back and forth between Luo Shan and the middle-aged man's face, and he said with a look of disbelief. Does this voice sound familiar to you? Luo Shan lowered his voice and spoke to Yiran. What? It's you? When Yiran heard this familiar voice, his face changed drastically and he stepped back repeatedly. This voice is the voice of the so-called big boss that I know. I didn't expect that it was actually Los Angeles in disguise. This person was indeed hired by you, but he is my man. Who do you think the big guy you met online is? In fact, it's all me. You have always been in my calculations. Looking at Luo Shan walking towards him step by step, as if he was a messenger from hell, Yiran had never felt so desperate. I was wrong, Brother Luo, Father Luo, Master Luo. Yiran fell to his knees with a plop. He had none of the demeanor of a man of luck and looked at Luo Shan with horror in his eyes. Although Destiny's Child never apologized or kneeled, that was when his life was not really in danger. When his life is in danger, he kneels down faster than anyone else. I shouldn't have wanted to hurt you. I was blinded by greed. As long as you let me go, I won't ask anything about my mother and you in the future. And Xiao Qingran himself won't fight with you for it anymore, I'll give it all to you. Yiran looked at Luo Shan and kowtowed continuously, his head hitting the ground in a melodious rhythm. You don't feel like you're wrong, you just know you're going to die. Luo Shan walked forward, his face full of silence, stretched out his hand, put it on Yiran's shoulder, and squeezed it hard. With a sound of crack, the bones on Yiran's shoulder were instantly shattered. Also, I don't need you to give Xiao Qingran to me. Speaking of which, I have to thank you. If you hadn't drugged Xiao Qingran a few days ago, I wouldn't have gotten her so quickly. Luo Shan chuckled and then reached out his hand to crush the bones on Yiran's other shoulder. It turned out to be you who stabbed me from behind that day. Yiran's guess was confirmed by Luo Shan himself. He didn't care about the piercing pain in his body. Yiran was still brooding over what happened that day. Every time he thought about it, he wanted to vomit. Not only did he fail to get Xiao Qingran that day, but he also lost his 20 years of innocence to a dinosaur. I didn't expect that the culprit of all this was Los Angeles in front of me. Everything I do is to help Los Angeles. Luo Shan nodded and did not deny it. Impossible, how could Qingran be obtained by you? You must have lied to me. Yiran shook his head frantically and cried out at the top of his lungs. Then Luo Shan took out his cell phone and called Xiao Qingran. Hello? Honey, why did you think of calling me? A clear and pleasant female voice came from the other side. Yiran, who was very familiar with Xiao Qingran's voice, immediately recognized it as Xiao Qingran's voice. Honey, I learned a few more fitness moves from the internet. Do you want to try them? I'll teach you. Luo Shan made an exaggerated expression to Yiran, and then smiled strangely. Hubby, are you ashamed? I have no problem with it, but you have to ask Sister Qinxia to come along. Xiao Qingran's shy voice came. Okay, whatever you say. I'll listen to you. I have something else to do, so I'll hang up first. Okay, husband, you go ahead and do your work. I'll wash and wait for you. Listening to the conversation between Xiao Qingran and Luo Shan, Yiran's eyes suddenly narrowed. The naked truth is right before my eyes. How could heaven be so unkind to me? Oh, stepfather, no biological father, father. Dad. Let me go, let me go. I have golden eyes. I can identify any antique or painting. I can help you make money. Help you make a lot of money. I will definitely treat you as my own father and be filial to you. As long as you can let me go, I don't want to die. I'm still young. I don't want to die. Yiran revealed his last trump card. Now he just wanted to survive. Only by surviving could he get revenge. Luo Shan has brought so much humiliation upon me, how could I possibly let him go? Now it's just a delaying tactic. As long as we have the Green Mountains, we will never have to worry about firewood. Even our biggest secrets have been revealed directly to Los Angeles. He tilder. Luo Shan smiled and shook his head. Golden eyes. Do you think you're writing a novel? Do you think I'm an idiot? Oh, by the way, I did tell you one thing. The person you found is really good at handling corpses. After you die, no one will know it was me who did it. If it weren't for you, I don't know how I could have arranged such a secluded place for you. Don't worry, I will take care of your mother after you die. She will forget you, and we will have new children. Luo Shan said, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and he shouted, Man tilder. The elbow hit Yiran directly on the temple. Yiran's eyes suddenly widened and he died. Yiran, the child of destiny, has been offline since then. Ding, congratulations to their host for successfully killing the first child of destiny and successfully obtaining the first kill reward. Ding, congratulations to their host for obtaining the life and death dependence card. You can use it on a designated character to instantly increase their favorability toward the host to 100 points. Ding, congratulations to their host for obtaining the Master Breakthrough Pill, which can increase the chance of breaking through to the Master of Guarding Yuan from the peak of internal strength to 90%. This first kill reward is pretty good and quite generous. Yiran, your death was not in vain. Remember to handle this cleanly, and don't put your suspicion on me. Yes, Master. I will definitely complete it perfectly. No one will suspect you of this man's death. Please rest assured. Luo Shan gave an order to the middle-aged man, then exited the warehouse and left. Luo Shan came to Su Rou's apartment building and stood outside the door. Luo Shan adjusted the joyful expression on his face to make himself look a little sadder. Luo Shan took out the key and opened the door. After Su Rou changed the lock, she gave a key to Luo Shan so that Luo Shan could always enter her house and the two of them could have fun. Luo Shan walked in and saw Su Rou lying on the sofa in her purple silk pajamas, watching TV. The purple silk pajamas perfectly set off Su Rou's figure. She was half lying on the sofa, with her breasts half exposed. Oh, hubby, why did you think of coming to my place today? Su Rou heard the sound of the door opening and looked up with eyes full of anticipation. When she saw that it was Luo Shan who came in, her eyes lit up. Wife, I want to tell you something. You must bear it after listening to it. Luo Shan walked into their house, walked to the sofa with a lost look on his face, and sat on it. His hand naturally rested on Su Rou's bare thigh, stroking it, trying to soothe her emotions. Tell me, husband, there is nothing I can't accept. Su Rou smiled gently, but her heart tightened, thinking that something bad was going to happen. It's, Rana is dead. As he spoke, 2 crocodile tears squeezed out of Los Angeles' eyes and slid down his cheeks. What? When Su Rou heard Luo Shan's words, her eyes suddenly became dull, her body stiffened a little, and the remote control in her hand fell to the ground. Yes. Rana was killed because of drug trafficking and gangsters robbing gangsters. I just learned the news and I came here to tell you immediately. Luo Shan gently held Su Rou's stiff body in his arms and comforted her. Although Su Rou thought that Yiran was a wicked man and deserved his death, he was her child after all. But blood is thicker than water between them, how can they just disappear like that? Su Rou cried bitterly in Luo Shan's arms, and her tears soaked Luo Shan's clothes. A long time passed. Forget it. Since Yiran has chosen to do this job, harming others will eventually harm himself. If he dies, it has nothing to do with me. Everything is his own fault. Su Rou finally came to her senses from the great grief. She raised her head and spoke weakly, as if all her strength had been drained away. Hubby, you are the only one left with me now, you can't leave me. Su Rou looked up at Luo Shan and hugged him tightly, as if she was hugging a rare treasure. Don't worry, honey, I will always be by your side. Wife, since Rana is gone, let's have a baby, right? I will be the father of the child from now on. Luo Shan lowered his head and kissed Su Rou's rosy lips, then spoke. Su Rou nodded, intoxicated by Luo Shan's tenderness. Chapter 42 Weird Parents. Son, come back quickly. The early morning sunlight shone directly into Los Angeles' room, and Los Angeles answered the phone in a daze. As soon as the call was connected, Los Angeles became alert when he heard the voice. It was his stepfather on the other end of the line. What's going on? It's a big deal, son, come back quickly. The voice on the other end of the phone seemed very anxious. Okay, Dad, I'll be back in a minute. Luo Shan said this and stood up, put on his clothes, then hung up the phone. What's up? Su Rou lay aside, looking at Luo Shan and said, with faint traces of tears in the corners of her eyes. After all, it takes time to accept the death of one's own son. Luo Shan comforted Su Rou all night long. My dad asked me to go back quickly. It might be something important. So I'll go back first. I'll pick you up after I've dealt with the matter. We can go out and relax together. Wait a moment. Just as Luo Shan was about to go out, Su Rou grabbed Luo Shan from behind and squatted down. Luo Shan drove and soon arrived at the Luo family villa. The Luo family villa is located in Jinghai No. 1, which is the most prosperous residential area in the entire Jinghai city. Surrounded by lush garden landscapes, it is evergreen all year round and filled with the fragrance of flowers, like a paradise hidden in the hustle and bustle of the city. When you enter the Luo family villa, the first thing that catches your eye is an open lawn. The grass is green and neatly trimmed, with a winding path in the middle paved with pebbles and dotted with various flowers on both sides, leading visitors slowly towards the main body of the villa. The exterior of the villa is made of off-white stone with a black metal frame, which looks solemn and elegant yet modern. The glazed tiles on the roof sparkle in the sun, showing the owner's extraordinary taste. Luo Shan walked forward, stretched out his hand and pushed open the door of the villa. Two people were sitting on the sofa in the hall. A man and a woman. The man looks somewhat similar to Los Angeles in facial features, but he has gained weight now. However, it can be seen that the man must have been a handsome guy when he was young. The beautiful middle-aged woman next to him was wearing a tight-fitting cheongsam, with a faint smile on her lips, as elegant and peaceful as a peony flower. These two people are Los Angeles' parents. The middle-aged man is Luo Qianming, the richest man in Jinghai, and the beautiful middle-aged woman is Luo Shan's mother Lin Huishan. Mom and Dad, why did you suddenly call me home? What's the matter? Luo Shan walked forward, looked at his parents and spoke. Son, I missed you so much. Why didn't you come back to see Mom and Dad for so long? Luo Qianming jumped up from the sofa and gave Luo Shan a big hug. Isn't it that the study pressure is a bit high recently? Study hard. I don't have time to come back. Los Angeles spoke up. How dare you lie to your father? How dare you act like a fool? Don't I know your father? Hearing this, Luo Qianming glared at Luo Shan in a serious manner and smiled. Luo Qianming doesn't care at all about Luo Shan's studies. I have worked hard all my life, and I only have this one son. If I don't give my son the best life, then all my efforts will have been in vain. How can you say that about your son? If you dare to say that about your son again, don't get into my bed at night. Hearing this, Lin Huishan raised her head, rolled her eyes at Luo Qianming and spoke. Then Lin Huishan looked at Luo Shan with eyes full of doting. Wife, I was wrong. I will never do that again. Our son is the best. Luo Qianming quickly raised his hands in surrender, and spoke to Lin Huishan in a flattering manner, with a look of a dog licking his face. Los Angeles really suspects that his bootlicking appearance is hereditary. After all, they are like cast in the same mold, the only difference is that I didn't lick it, but my cheap father did. But it doesn't matter. You are my son, Luo Qianming. You can do whatever you want. But I heard that you have done some things that are a bit too much recently. Luo Qianming changed the subject, his eyes flashing with meaningful light. Obviously he already knew what happened between Luo Shan and Yiran. Luo Shan understood and naturally knew what Luo Qianming was talking about. It should be the matter of Yiran being killed. This matter could not be hidden from Luo Qianming. However, the person he found was originally from the Luo family. It would be strange if Luo Qianming didn't know about it. Dad, is this the reason you asked me to come home? Los Angeles asked. Not really, this is a small matter. You don't have to worry about these things. I have already arranged for people to handle them. It is impossible for them to be traced back to you, so you can rest assured. You are my son, Luo Qianming. As long as you don't go too far, it'll be fine. Upon hearing this, Lin Huishan nodded to Luo Shan to show her agreement. Your father is right. How can my son be wronged outside? Don't worry, your father and I will take care of anything. Sure enough, this is our villain's family. He is so kind. Even though his son made such a big mistake, the father acted as if nothing had happened and even created conditions for his son. The son of a villain, this one is also the father of a villain. It turns out that there are two kinds of people sleeping in the same bed. But it's not surprising, after all, we are the villains. Dad, what's the matter that makes you so anxious for me to go home? Luo Shan asked doubtfully, why did his cheap dad ask him to go home quickly? Sharna, you are not young anymore. You are 21 years old this year, right? Luo Qianming spoke. Luo Shan nodded, still confused. You have to know that your mother and I had you when we were 18, and you are already 21, and you don't want to give us a big fat boy. Luo Qianming looked at Luo Shan and spoke. You can't force relationships. I don't have that thought right now, and I'm still in school. Luo Shan scratched his head and spoke, then looked at Lin Huishan for help, wanting his mother to help him out. After all, you want a big fat boy. Just tell me. I have a way. I want to find a way for Su Rou and I to give birth to one for you. Your dad is right. You are already 21, why don't you give us a big fat boy soon? Lin Huishan seemed not to have noticed Luo Shan's eyes and spoke in agreement. More than a month ago, the daughter of the Yun family returned from abroad and took over some of the Yun family's business. I heard that she managed the Yun family's business in an orderly manner. She is a rare business genius. Also, the girl from the Yun family is a real beauty. I'll arrange for you two to meet this Saturday. We've discussed it with your Uncle Yun, and if it's possible, we can finalize the engagement. This girl from the Yun family is okay, she's a good match for you. Lin Huishan raised her eyebrows at Luo Shan with an expression that said, you know what I mean. Mom, I don't even know her, why should I go? I'm not going. The Yun family is also a force that cannot be ignored in Jinghai City. Although it is not as strong as the Luo family, it is also one of the top families in Jinghai. Business marriage is a very common practice in the entire Jinghai. Who doesn't want to climb up the big tree of the Luo family? You have to go, or we will cut off all your financial resources. Upon hearing this, Lin Huishan pinched Luo Shan hard, causing him pain. Mom, you are threatening me. You know I am not afraid of threats. Los Angeles said. You don't have to go, but you won't get a penny of our money anymore. Think about it yourself. Lin Huishan glared at Luo Shan, then said. What are you saying? Am I doing this for money? I am doing this to follow Mother's request. The smile on Mother's face is what I want to see. Saturday, right? Tell me the exact location and I'll be there on time. Los Angeles gave in instantly. After all, even a penny can make a hero fall. I still want to live the life of a rich second generation. That life is still very desirable. This book was blocked for nearly a month and was only recently unblocked. Sorry, brothers. Chapter 43. Why am I still a bootlicker? Luo Shan talked with his parents for a long time again. After confirming the time and place for the meeting with the person from the Yun family, he assured Lin Huishan that he would definitely arrive on time. After lunch, Luo Shan left the Luo family villa. After leaving home, Luo Shan came to Su Rou's home. Su Rou still couldn't accept the fact that Yiran was dead. Her face was still dull and her eyes were staring at the ceiling blankly. There are still traces of tears in the corners of eyes. Seeing Luo Shan enter the room, Su Rou slowly pulled out a smile that was uglier than crying. Hubby, you're here. Wife, the dead cannot be resurrected. This is all Yiran's own fault. Don't be sad. Luo Shan walked up to Su Rou, hugged her and began to comfort her. After comforting Su Rou, Luo Shan took Su Rou to the amusement park in the city to play and relax in the afternoon. He also took Su Rou to the mall. After all, women will be happy when shopping. Su Rou felt a little better with Luo Shan's comfort. The child is watching Tilda. Su Rou felt the softness and strangeness in her body. She looked at Yuran's black and white portrait hanging in the living room and said to Luo Shan behind her with a hot face. Luo Shan seemed not to hear Su Rou's voice, his hands were still moving wildly. Don't be sad. If Yuran knew that he had a brother to accompany you, he would be comforted even if he was in heaven. Don't you think so? Su Rou nodded heavily when she heard this. Yuran would definitely think so. She could only indulge in this bone-eroding feeling. 2 days later, after Luo Shan and Su Rou had agreed, Luo Shan took Su Rou to live with him in his villa. Zhu Na didn't show any surprise at Su Rou's arrival. After all, the two of them had met each other a long time ago, and they could be considered sisters who shared joys and sorrows. But when Lin Xinxia saw Luo Shan bringing Su Rou, she naturally knew the relationship between Luo Shan and Su Rou immediately. Humph, bad husband, having the two of us is not enough for you? Do you want someone else? Lin Xinxia was so angry that her mouth was puffy. She pinched Luo Shan hard and spoke. Don't be angry, honey. I'll make it up to you tonight. Luo Shan lowered his head and spoke into Lin Xinxia's ear. Lin Xinxia felt the hot breath from Luo Shan's mouth and her pretty face turned red. When Su Rou saw Lin Xinxia, she naturally understood Lin Xinxia's identity. Of course, she is also one of the women in Los Angeles. She originally thought that there were only herself and Zhu Na in Los Angeles, but it seems there are more. However, Su Rou also knew that with Luo Shan's excellence, there would definitely be more and more women around him in the future. As long as she had a place in Luo Shan's heart, Su Rou would be satisfied. Then when he learned about the close relationship between Lin Xinxia and Zhu Na, he was even more shocked. He didn't expect that Luo Shan would not let go of even this. You are really not a human being. In the evening, with the busy work of Su Rou, Zhu Na and Lin Xinxia, a sumptuous dinner appeared on the table. Luo Shan ate with gusto. Zhu Na's cooking skills were already very good, and Su Rou made it even better. He ate with relish. After dinner, it's time again. The child of destiny is dead, shouldn't I enjoy myself? It's Saturday, noon, and the sun is shining brightly. Finally, the time came for Los Angeles and his mother to agree on a blind date. Luo Shan changed his clothes and went to a coffee shop in the city center that he had made an appointment with the girl from the Yun family. Lin Huishan told herself the table number of her date early in the morning. The girl in the Yun family is named Yunqian. As soon as Luo Shan entered the coffee shop, he saw Yunqian's figure in the corner of the coffee shop from afar. Yunqian sat by the window, holding a book in her hands. The sunlight shone on her, making her look quiet and beautiful. Obviously, it has become the most eye-catching existence in this space. Luo Shan walked up to the woman, came to her side, lowered his head and asked. Hello, are you Miss Yun? Yunqian was extremely dissatisfied with this blind date. After all, what era is this now, a time for free love, and there is no need for things like parents' orders and matchmakers' words. He even asked me to go on a blind date, but I don't even know the eldest son of the Luo family, so it's impossible for me to fall in love with him. If I were to marry someone I don't like, I would rather die. If it weren't for dealing with her own parents, Yunqian would not be willing to meet the eldest son of the Luo family. Not to mention, it was already so late and her blind date was already late. Yunqian always disliked people who had no sense of time. Therefore, Yunqian had a very low impression of Luo Shan, and even felt a little disgusted with him. This cannot be blamed on Los Angeles. After all, he worked too much and for too long in the villa and was really exhausted. It's normal to sleep a little longer. It's already a great honor for you to be able to come. Hearing their voice beside her ear, Yunqian put down the book and raised her head to meet Luo Shan's gaze. Yunqian was wearing a well-tailored OL outfit that perfectly outlined her graceful figure. She was wearing a pure white shirt with the collar slightly open, revealing a delicate collarbone, and a small bow tied at the tip of the collar. She paired it with a dark blue knee-length skirt, the hem of which fell just above the knees, perfectly showing off her long and beautiful legs. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. She is tall and has a curvy figure. Her face is as delicate as a painting, and her skin is white and delicate, as if it can reveal a luster. Her long burgundy hair casually falls on her shoulders, adding a touch of romance and charm to her temperament. My own mother had not lied to me. Yun Qian was indeed good-looking, and was even not inferior to those destined heroines. Seeing Yun Qian's exquisite and beautiful appearance, Luo Shan couldn't help but wonder, could this Yun Qian also be the heroine? At this moment, a mechanical voice came from Luo Shan's mind, confirming Luo Shan's thoughts. Ding, their host meets the key character Yun Qian. Congratulations to their host for unlocking the plot of The Return of the Dragon King, across the Flower City. Suddenly, a long message flooded into Los Angeles' mind. But after digesting the information in his mind, Los Angeles wanted to curse, why the hell am I still a bootlicker? A Dragon King returned home and found his wife and daughter living in a doghouse. The god of war was furious. A strong wind blew up, leveling the land for 90,000 miles. This book tells the story of Dragon King Qin Xiao, who, after his wedding, was forced to go abroad and become a mercenary due to various coincidences. In just 4 years, he established an extremely powerful mercenary organization, the Dragon King Palace, abroad. But Qin Xiao was tired of the life of a mercenary abroad and wanted to come back to live a peaceful and stable life, so he gave up everything and returned to China. But when he found out that his wife and daughter were living in a doghouse, the Dragon King got angry. Yun Qian is an important character in this book. After the Dragon King returned to his country, he has been serving as Yun Qian's personal bodyguard, protecting Yun Qian's safety. Yun Qian is also one of the heroines of this book. In this story, I played the role of a bootlicker. After going on a blind date with Yun Qian, I fell in love with her at the first sight. As a bootlicker, I must use some methods that only bootlickers know to win Yun Qian's heart. But Yun Qian really hated him, so this method was completely useless. So Qin Xiao's security guard took on the responsibility of protecting Yun Qian from being harassed by him, and then the two of them became enemies. Why do I always play the role of a bootlicker wherever I go? I strongly request a character change. Chapter 44, The Dragon King's Wife. Finally, of course, there is no need to say more, given the ruthless style of our Dragon King Qin Xiao. As a villain, I will at least end up with a torn body and my family destroyed. The Dragon King, on the other hand, was flying with sparks and lightning all the way, leaving behind his invincible legend in the city. However, judging from the current situation, Dragon King Qin Xiao should not have returned to his country yet. After all, in the plot, Qin Xiao had already been pestering Yun Qian as soon as he appeared on the stage. And now I have only just gotten to know Yun Qian's situation, and it has not yet developed to the point of being a bootlicker. If the Dragon King has not returned yet, then I can make some good arrangements. When the Dragon King returned to his country, he saw that the world had completely changed. My wife and daughter no longer live in the doghouse. Are you Los Angeles? Do you know what time it is? You are late, do you know that? Do you know that I hate people who have no sense of time the most? Yun Qian spoke impatiently. Yun Qian was originally resistant to the blind date arranged by her family, and Luo Shan's unpunctuality had already annoyed her. So I don't want to give Luo Shan a good face. Then, Yun Qian raised her head, wanting to see who her blind date was. If he didn't meet her standards, she would pack up and run away immediately. Yun Qian's eyes met Luo Shan's, and at the same time, Luo Shan's almost perfect face was exposed in front of her. There was a gentle smile on Luo Shan's face, and this scene could not be erased from Yun Qian's mind. So when Yun Qian saw Luo Shan for the first time, she fell in love with him. Yun Qian didn't believe in love at first sight at first, but when she saw Luo Shan for the first time, she found out that she was wrong, very wrong. I feel like I'm in love, what should I do? You are my real father and mother. When I get back I'll get you a tablet to worship, and you can judge people so accurately. Ding, congratulations to their host for his great luck, the charm aura has worked successfully, Yun Qian's favorability towards the host has increased to 80. Yes, I am Los Angeles. Luo Shan smiled and nodded, then pulled over a chair and sat naturally opposite Yun Qian. Luo Shan then used the identity detection system on Yun Qian. Suddenly, a transparent light curtain appeared in Los Angeles' sight. Name, Yun Qian. Age, 22. Appearance, 97. Identity, the daughter of destiny, Dragon King Qin Xiao's employer and concubine, the little princess of the Yun family. Realm, none. Favorability towards their host, 80. Luck value, 800. Looking at Yun Qian's favorability of 80 towards him, if it happened in the original plot, let alone seeing it with my own eyes, I wouldn't even dare to think about it. I can only say that I was extremely lucky. The charm aura that the system gave me worked, and I got critical hits directly. It turns out that the products produced by the system must be high quality. This seems to be the first time I've been so lucky, right? I'm so sorry, Miss Yun. I didn't manage my time well. Did you keep me waiting for so long? Then I'll pay for this meal. Luo Shan's words were like a warm spring breeze, which made Yun Qian feel particularly comfortable. It's okay, it's okay. In fact, I just arrived not long ago. I didn't wait long. Yun Qian felt that her cheeks must have turned red, and even her speech became a little incoherent. I wasn't like this before. Where did that former business queen go? Yun Qian, you can't show your weakness. Yun Qian quickly picked up the menu on the table, waved to the waiter of the cafe, and said, Mr. Luo, what would you like to eat? I'm fine with anything. Miss Yun, just take a look and eat whatever you like. Luo Shan smiled slightly, nodded and said. He is considerate, gentle, and speaks nicely. He is simply the man of my dreams. Waiter, bring 2 cups of handmade cheese lattes, 2 pieces of this Bass cake, and 1 piece of matcha tiramisu, thank you. Mr. Luo, what else would you like to order? Yun Qian ordered the food and then handed the menu to Luo Shan. No, these are enough. Luo Shan shook his head slightly and handed the menu to the waiter. The waiter quickly wrote down Yun Qian's order, nodded politely to confirm, and then turned and left. Yun Qian turned her head and her gaze fell on Luo Shan again. The inexplicable feeling in her heart became stronger. Well, Miss Yun, let me be frank. I was forced to come to this blind date event by my parents. I don't like you at all. Luo Shan said that Yun Qian had an 80% favorability towards him. I know the extent of this favorability. Unless I do something particularly serious, Yun Qian can completely tolerate me. Am I a dog licker? Now I will make you, Yun Qian, my bootlicker. I'll turn you into a husband-chasing crematorium. Meeting is fate, and fate is like a thread in the sky. We haven't even gotten to know each other yet, so how do you know that we are not suitable for each other? When Yun Qian heard Luo Shan's words, she felt a chill in her heart, but she still maintained a polite smile. I wonder what kind of girls Mr. Luo likes. I like gentle, kind and loving girls. Luo Shan pretended to think for a while and then spoke slowly. What a coincidence. This is talking about me. Yun Qian clapped her hands and nodded repeatedly. At this time, the waiter brought the ordered drinks and desserts. The rich aroma of cheese latte is fragrant, and the burnt aroma of Bass cake and the refreshing matcha fragrance of tiramisu are intertwined, which greatly increases your appetite. The two chatted while eating desserts and drinking drinks. Finally, the two exchanged contact information and left separately. I will definitely win you over. I don't believe that I can't handle you with my charm. You don't like me. Impossible. I will make you like me. Yun Qian looked at Luo Shan's leaving back and swore secretly. In the evening, Chaoyang Kindergarten. As the sun sets, it is time for the kindergarten to get out of school. Parents arrived one after another, greeting their children with anticipation and joy on their faces, and the children ran into their parents' arms like little birds. Los Angeles was sitting in a black Rolls-Royce. He looked through the glass window, carefully observing the group of parents who came to pick up their children. Luo Shan was searching for a figure in the crowd. It was the wife abandoned by the Dragon King. A minute later, Los Angeles finally confirmed the figure in his memory. Come on, wait until the light turns green. Do you see that mother and daughter? Drive your car and hit them. Then he pointed at a mother and daughter who were waiting for the traffic light in front of the car and spoke to the driver in front. Master, this isn't a good idea, is it? If anything goes wrong, I can't afford it. The driver's voice was trembling and his eyes were full of worry. The driver then carefully observed Los Angeles' calm face and the emotionless words in his mouth through the rearview mirror. Today, Luo Qianming, Mr. Luo told me that his son needed a driver, so he introduced me to him. Mr. Luo, you didn't tell me that this job involves such a big risk. There's also the risk of going to jail. Also, you are about to hit someone, why are you waiting for the green light? Then obey traffic rules and don't hit others. I always say there is no free lunch in the world. The salary of being a driver in Los Angeles is indeed much higher than that of working at Los Angeles Corporation. He felt strange at the time. He was also a driver, so why was the salary so high here? It turns out that they were doing something illegal. I'll give you 100,000 yuan. Also, I didn't ask you to hit it at full speed and kill someone. Just approach it slowly. A scratch will be enough. I will take care of any problems. Don't worry. Los Angeles didn't waste any time and directly gave the driver an offer that he couldn't refuse. Money makes the world go round. After hearing what Luo Shan said, the driver's eyes lit up. 100,000 yuan was not a small sum for him. After considering it for a while, he patted his chest and made the promise. Master, I promise to complete the task. Don't worry about my driving skills. Chapter 45 Script. Bai Muir had a gentle smile on her face as she waited for the traffic light at the crosswalk. She turned her head to look at her adorable daughter sitting on the back of the bicycle and spoke softly. Wait, what do you want to eat today? Mommy will make it for you. A brilliant smile immediately broke out on the chubby little face of Deng Deng in the back seat, and his eyes curved into crescent shapes, like two twinkling little stars. She clapped her hands excitedly and replied in a baby voice. Mom, I want to eat braised pork. And, I want that sweet pumpkin pie too. Bai Muir listened to her daughter's tender and expectant voice, and all the hard work from the daytime work was swept away, and her heart was warm. She nodded gently, her face filled with the radiance of maternal love. Okay, I'll make it for you when I get home later, so you can eat well and be happy. She looked up at the intersection, where vehicles were coming and going and the red light was counting down slowly. 10 tilde. Bai Muir muttered softly, his eyes closely following the jumping numbers. 9 tilde. 8 tilde. Bai Muir got on her bicycle and prepared to set off. However, at this moment, a black Rolls-Royce suddenly accelerated and rushed towards the mother and daughter. The vehicle seemed to be out of control, with brakes screeching but unable to stop its movement. The wheels made a harsh sound as they rubbed against the ground, and the air was filled with the smell of burning rubber. Bai Muir widened her eyes in horror, and an unprecedented fear surged in her heart. She tried her best to avoid the out-of-control car, but the speed of the bicycle could not compare with that of the car. She looked at her daughter sitting in the back seat, and out of her motherly instinct, she quickly stood up and hugged Deng Deng in the back seat in her arms, trying to block the car with her body. Fortunately, the imagined tragedy did not happen. The black Rolls-Royce braked in time and stopped just a few dozen centimeters away from Bai Muir. Bai Muir's heart was beating like a drum. She hugged Deng Deng tightly. Her face was pale and she sat down on the road in shock, her eyes fixed on the vehicles that were nearby. His eyes were filled with fear and terror of surviving a disaster. He couldn't even imagine what the consequences would be if the car had moved forward just a little bit more. Wei Tong was frightened by this sudden change and his face turned pale. He hugged his mother's neck tightly with his hands and his little body trembled slightly. Mom, I'm scared. There was a cry in his voice, and his little body was seeking comfort in Bai Muir's arms. Bai Muir suppressed her inner fear, gently stroked Deng Deng's back, and comforted him softly. Don't be afraid, Deng Deng, Mom is here, we are all fine. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Luo Shan got out of the back seat of the Rolls-Royce and walked quickly to Bai Muir. His face was also extremely pale, and his eyes were full of shock and regret. At the same time, Bai Muir's information turned into a light curtain and appeared in front of Luo Shan. Name, Bai Muir. Age, 28. Appearance, 97. Identity, the daughter of destiny, Dragon King Qin Xiao is the undisputed #1 female protagonist. Realm, none. Favorability towards their host, 0. Luck value, 1000. Fortunately, he didn't hit the wrong person, and Luo Shan was secretly thankful, otherwise he would have to change a car and do it again tomorrow. Get off my car. How do you drive? Luo Shan turned his head and spoke sharply to the driver who was still in the car. To be honest, this guy's driving skills are really good. His control is very precise and he did not cause any substantial harm to Bai Muir and her daughter. The driver got out of the driver's seat with a trembling body and a look of fear on his face. He almost knelt in front of Luo Shan, his voice filled with tears. Master Luo, I don't know what happened. The car suddenly became out of control. I really didn't mean to do that. Are you okay? I'm really sorry for giving you such a scare. Luo Shan glared at the driver, his eyes full of anger, but at this moment he was more concerned about the safety of Bai Muir and her daughter. Luo Shan showed concern on his face, turned around and stretched out his hand to help Bai Muir up. Bai Muir raised her head and met Luo Shan's concerned eyes. The concern and apology in those eyes seemed to penetrate everything and reach her heart. She was slightly stunned, and then felt an inexplicable warmth and security. This feeling made her feel very strange. Then Bai Muir stood up slowly with Luo Shan's help. Her face was still a little pale. Is everything all right? Let's go to the hospital and get a full body check to make sure it's safe. Luo Shan spoke to Bai Muir. Thank you, but we're really fine, and you didn't bump into us. Bai Muir looked at Luo Shan, shook his head and spoke. This matter is my fault. I still have to go to the hospital to treat the wound. Look, your arm is bleeding. Luo Shan gently stretched out his hand and gently lifted up Bai Muir's arm, which was as soft as a tender lotus root. Bai Muir's arm was cut at some point, and bright red blood was constantly oozing out of the cut. Bai Muir was just in extreme fear and concerned about her daughter and others, and did not notice that her arm was injured. I think it must have rubbed against the road when he fell down on the road. Luo Shan took out a spotless white handkerchief from his pocket and wiped Bai Muir's wound gently and carefully. Every movement was full of care and meticulousness. Bai Muir felt this tenderness, and her cheeks couldn't help but flushed slightly, and she said shyly, I can do it myself, really, thank you. Then, Luo Shan turned his gaze to Deng Deng, who was tightly held in Bai Muir's arms, and asked softly, Is this your daughter? Bai Muir nodded gently, her eyes full of maternal love. She also looks quite frightened. Children are quite fragile, so it's best to check her out to make sure she doesn't have any psychological trauma. Don't worry, I will arrange everything. Los Angeles assured, his words full of concern for Dong Deng. Bai Muir felt a warm feeling in his heart when he heard this, and his favorability towards Luo Shan increased dramatically. Since it was about his daughter, Bai Muir finally nodded and agreed to Luo Shan. You stay here and wait for the traffic police to come and handle it. If they can't handle it well, you can pack up and leave. Luo Shan hailed a taxi and prepared to go to the hospital. Before leaving, he said these words to the driver. Get in the car. By the way, my name is Luo Shan. I don't know your name yet. Luo Shan and Bai Muir and her son were sitting in the back row. He looked at Bai Muir and chuckled as he spoke. My name is Bai Muir. What about your daughter? Luo Shan asked again. Her name is Bai Yu, and her nickname is Deng Deng. Bai Muir smiled at Luo Shan and said. Bai Yu, what a beautiful name, as beautiful as her mother. Luo Shan praised with a smile, his eyes full of love and praise for the little girl. No way, Tilda. Hearing Luo Shan's words, Bai Muir spoke shyly. Wait, how old are you this year? Deng Deng, who was sitting next to Luo Shan, was still a little frightened, but was also attracted by Luo Shan's smile and words. She blinked her big eyes and looked at the strange uncle curiously, but still spoke in a baby voice. Deng Deng is 3 years old this year, but in a month it will be his 4th birthday. After all, her charming aura was always effective, not only on adult women, but also on children. Seeing this, Luo Shan said to Deng Deng, you are such a lovely girl. Don't worry, uncle will take you and your mother to see a doctor, and you will be well soon. After listening to this, Wei Ting seemed to understand Luo Shan's kindness. She nodded and whispered, Thank you, uncle. Luo Shan smiled and touched Deng Deng's head, then turned to Bai Muir and said. Don't worry, I've already contacted the hospital, we can just go there. You and Deng Deng should have a good rest, and I'll take care of the rest. Chapter 46 died. Bai Muir was filled with gratitude when he heard this. The taxi sped all their way and soon arrived at the hospital. Luo Shan quickly handled the registration and examination procedures for Bai Muir and others, and stayed with them throughout the whole process, doing everything personally and giving them the greatest comfort and support. Finally, the test results came out, and Bai Muir and Deng Deng were all fine. So after helping Bai Muir bandage her wound in the hospital, Luo Shan and Bai Muir, mother and daughter, left the hospital. Mom, I want to eat braised pork and sweet pumpkin pie. After leaving the hospital, there was a lot more smiles on Tong Tong's face. She liked her uncle Losang from the bottom of her heart. Bai Muir looked at the sky, which was already dotted with stars, glanced at the time, squatted down, stroked Deng Deng's forehead, and then spoke. It's too late today. Mommy can make it for us tomorrow, okay? We can just eat something and take a nap. We still have to go to kindergarten tomorrow. No, no. I just want to eat braised pork and sweet pumpkin pie. Otherwise, I'll be angry later. Wait, he put his hands on his chest, his little face was puffed up like a meat bun, so cute. Would you like to eat braised pork and sweet pumpkin pie? Then Uncle will take you there to eat, okay? Luo Shan also squatted down and spoke to Deng Deng. Okay. Uncle Los Angeles is the best. I'll like Uncle Los Angeles later. When Wait heard what Luo Shan said, a cute smile appeared on his face and he jumped directly into Luo Shan's arms. Bai Muir turned her head, and the moonlight shone on Luo Shan's body, highlighting his tall figure. It seemed like she was looking at Luo Shan carefully for the first time. How could Luo Shan be so beautiful? Bai Muir couldn't help but stare at her in amazement. Bai Muir couldn't help but feel a subtle ripple in her heart. This was an emotion she hadn't felt for a long time. She quickly collected her thoughts and spoke softly to Luo Shan. Thank you, Los Angeles. But there's really no need to bother. It's getting late now. We can just find something to eat. I'm sorry for wasting your time. I didn't have time to go home and make delicious food for you. I'll take you out to eat. I know a very good restaurant with delicious braised pork and pumpkin pie. Luo Shan smiled and shook his head, pinched Deng Deng's chubby face and spoke. Wait, Uncle will take you to eat, okay? Okay. Wait clapped his hands excitedly, his eyes smiling into crescent shapes. She hugged Los Angeles' neck tightly, with her little face pressed against his chest. Seeing this, Bai Muir didn't say much, and smiled gently at Luo Shan and Deng Deng. Okay, then, we'll go together. Deng Deng, remember to be good and don't make noise in the restaurant. Dong Dong is the best boy. Dong Dong is going to eat something delicious. Wait waited and nodded seriously, and his little look made Luo Shan and Bai Muir couldn't help laughing. Under the street lights in the night, their shadows were elongated and the atmosphere between them was warm and harmonious. Luo Shan lowered his head from time to time and told jokes to Deng Deng, making the little guy giggle, while Bai Muir walked silently by the side, looking in the direction of Luo Shan and Deng Deng from time to time. Sometimes when Bai Muir's eyes met Luo Shan's, Bai Muir's face would turn red. After a while, the three people from Los Angeles walked into a magnificent restaurant. Isn't it expensive to eat here? Bai Muir gently pulled Luo Shan's sleeve and asked in a low voice. Although she was grateful for Los Angeles' kindness, she didn't want him to spend too much money. And everything around me seems to be incompatible with me. It's okay, just eat without worry. I have a membership card here that can give you a discount. It's not expensive. The waiter led the three of them into a private room. After entering the room, the waiter quickly brought the menu. After Los Angeles took the menu, he first asked for his opinion. Wait pointed excitedly at the pictures of braised pork and pumpkin pie, and Los Angeles smiled and nodded. Sister Mu Ya, I'll call you that so it seems more intimate. What do you want to eat? Luo Shan turned his head and looked at Bai Muir and said. I can do anything. Bai Muir obviously didn't expect Luo Shan to ask her, but she still spoke softly. Los Angeles nodded, ordered a few special dishes, and then put the menu back into the waiter's hands. The restaurant served the food very quickly, and when the delicious dishes were brought to the table, Deng Deng's eyes lit up. By the way, where is Deng Deng's father? I saw you and Deng Deng both went to their hospital, and no one came to see you. Luo Shan picked up a piece of braised pork and put it on Deng Deng's plate, then looked at Bai Muir and asked as if nothing had happened. When this topic was mentioned, Bai Muir's eyes clearly flashed with sadness. He was silent for a while before speaking. Deng Deng's father passed away. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought up this topic. After hearing this, Luo Shan was silent for a long time before he spoke to comfort her. It's okay, Los Angeles. A lot of time has passed. I've slowly accepted it. Bai Muir shook her head slightly and forced a smile. But Sister Mu Ya, you are so beautiful, why don't you think of finding another father for Deng Deng? It's not easy for you to raise a child alone. Luo Shan helped Bai Muir pick up the dishes and asked. Am I still beautiful? I'm already old and ugly, and no one dares to. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Bai Muir smiled bitterly, but did not say the rest. Of course, Sister Mu Ya, you are really beautiful. Luo Shan raised his head and stared at Bai Muir, saying seriously. Bai Muir's facial features are like carefully crafted works of art, each of which exudes delicacy and softness. Her eyes are deep and bright, her nose is straight and delicate, and although her lips are not bright in color, the light pink is like the first blooming cherry blossoms, exuding natural freshness and elegance. However, the vicissitudes of life and the hardships of life have also left faint traces on her skin. The skin, which should have been as smooth and delicate as satin, now looks a little rough, as if it had been gently polished by time. Her skin color was no longer as crystal clear as that of a young girl, but had a layer of light dark yellow, but it did not affect Bai Muir's beauty at all. Being stared at like this by Luo Shan, Bai Muir just felt embarrassed. She lowered her head with a red face, fiddling with the food on the plate that Luo Shan had brought over, making a sound as soft as a mosquito's hum. Well, let's eat first. Yes, let's eat first. Luo Shan said as he picked up a few more dishes and put them on Bai Muir's plate, chuckling softly. These are the specialties here, Sister Mu Ya, please eat more. About an hour later. Wait, are you full? Luo Shan rubbed Deng Deng's head and said. Waited and burped, touched his round belly with both hands, and said with a smile. I'm full, I'm going to die. Why don't you thank Uncle Luo? Bai Muir smiled gently and spoke to Deng Deng. Thank you, Uncle Luo. Wait for the babyish voice to start talking. The cute look made Luo Shan and Bai Muir couldn't help laughing. Okay, it's getting late, shall I take you home? After leaving the restaurant, Luo Shan said to Bai Muir. No, it's late enough now. I can't trouble you anymore. Deng Deng and I can go home by ourselves. Bai Muir shook her head and refused repeatedly. It's too late. It's really not safe for you and your widow to go home. I'd better take you back together. Finally, under Luo Shan's strong request, Bai Muir nodded and agreed. Chapter 47 Getting Started. Luo Shan hailed a taxi on the side of the road and returned to Bai Muir's home with Bai Muir and her daughter. Soon, the taxi stopped steadily at the gate of Bai Muir's community. This is an old and run-down house. Due to the passage of time, the sign on the door has become blurred due to its age. The iron gate at the entrance of the community was half open, making a slight creaking sound in the wind. We're already here. Just drop us off here. You should go back and rest early. You've worked really hard today. Thank you so much. Bai Muir got out of the car, his eyes fell on the familiar yet slightly dilapidated community in front of him, feeling mixed emotions. Bai Muir looked up at Luo Shan and said gratefully. Now that I'm here, can't you let me go upstairs and have a drink of water before I leave? Bai Muir did not see any disgust in Luo Shan's eyes, but a gentle smile, and finally nodded. Okay, but the house is a little messy and I haven't had time to clean it up yet. Please don't mind. How could that be? Luo Shan, followed by Muir, pushed open the creaking iron gate, and walked through the deep and narrow short passage. If it weren't for Bai Muir's guidance, it would have been difficult to find this place. The three of them walked to an apartment building, and the house number on the building had been almost eroded by time and was unrecognizable. Time has also taken its toll on the walls, which are slowly falling off, allowing people to glimpse back to their childhood. Let's go upstairs. Bai Muir said softly, looking at her home. The stairwell was dark, with a few dim light bulbs hanging on the wall, the light barely enough to illuminate the way forward. Each step was accompanied by heavy footsteps, echoing in the silent corridor. Careful. Luo Shan suddenly reached out and firmly supported the slightly shaking Bai Muir. Because of the dim light, Bai Muir almost stepped on air just now. Thanks. Bai Muir patted her towering chest with some fear. The light is too dim. We need to be careful. Luo Shan grabbed Bai Muir's hand without saying a word, held it in his palm, and walked forward up the stairs. Let me hold your hand and walk with you. It will be safer this way. Luo Shan's voice was gentle but firm. Bai Muir's hands were rough beyond her age. As soon as he picked it up, Luo Shan could feel that Bai Muir's hands were covered with thick calluses, which made him feel a little rough. Luo Shan also understood how hard Bai Muir had worked to support himself and others over the past few years. Feeling the warmth and reassuring breath coming from Los Angeles' hands, Bai Muir was slightly startled, then a blush appeared on her face and she nodded gently. Thank you. When they reached the third floor, Bai Muir took out the key, opened the door lock clumsily, and turned on the light. Luo Shan walked into their house with a smile, facing the light and looking around. Although the furniture was simple and even a little shabby, every item was arranged in an orderly manner. At the same time, there are several family photos of Bai Muir and others hanging on the wall. Although the house is not big, it can feel very warm and has been decorated with great care. Bai Muir explained a little embarrassedly, "Their house is rather simple, I hope you can make do with it. I decorated it myself, I want it to look more like home." "Why, it looks really warm." Luo Shan sat on the sofa, looked across the room, and spoke sincerely from the bottom of his heart. "I'm sleepy now. I'm going to sleep now." As soon as he entered the room, he started yawning, his little face full of fatigue. "I'll take you to bed first. You wait here for a while." Bai Muir looked at Luo Shan apologetically, then took Deng Deng into the inner room. About 10 minutes later. "Wait, are you asleep?" Luo Shan asked as he watched Bai Muir walk out of the room. "Well, wait, he's already asleep. Children fall asleep quickly. He's already asleep. I'll go get you a glass of water." Bai Muir said as she walked to the side, took a glass of water and handed it to Luo Shan. Luo Shan took the cup of water handed over by Bai Muir. "Sister Mu Ya, you usually take care of Deng Deng by yourself, aren't you tired?" Luo Shan took a sip of tea and said, "Of course I'm tired, but there's nothing I can do. After all, I'm taking care of everything by myself, so it's going to be hard." Bai Muir shook her head and said helplessly that she had to take care of everyone by herself and was extremely busy every day. So the wrinkles on her face have increased significantly, and her palms, which were once as smooth as jade, are now covered with thick calluses. "Actually, I can help you take care of it and so on." Luo Shan stared at Bai Muir and spoke. "You help me? It's really not necessary. Besides, Tong Deng and I haven't suffered any substantial harm. You have done enough. Thank you for that." Bai Muir is not a 17 or 18-year-old girl, so of course she can understand the meaning of Luo Shan's words. Although she was still attracted to Los Angeles, she shook her head and ordered him to leave. "It's getting late, you should go home. I like you and I want to do more for you." As Luo Shan spoke, he took Bai Muir, who was sitting next to him, into his arms and hugged her tightly. He lowered his head and whispered softly into Bai Muir's ear. "I fell in love with you the moment I saw you. I want to do more for you and Deng Deng. I can be Deng Deng's father and take care of you and your daughter." Bai Muir could hear the hot breath from Luo Shan's mouth, and felt the strong masculine scent from the man next to her. At the same time, Bai Muir's eyes gradually became blurred, and his struggling movements gradually became smaller and smaller. As the atmosphere became more romantic, the temperature in the room gradually rose. Luo Shan also gradually became bolder, and he put his arms around Bai Muir's slender waist. Bai Muir was wearing a simple, loose white t-shirt that covered her graceful curves. "Don't want. We can't, we're not suitable." Bai Muir shook off Luo Shan's hand in a panic. Her eyes gradually regained clarity from the confusion and emotion just now. She looked at Luo Shan and spoke with a stammer. They had only known each other for a few hours, and yet things had developed to this point. Although she was indeed attracted to Los Angeles, the pace of development was too fast for her. Is this still me? And because of her identity, she really didn't want to implicate Los Angeles. And, I have a child. Bai Muir spoke again. "I don't mind these, and Deng Deng's father is no longer with us. I like Deng Deng very much. Deng Deng will be my child from now on. I will do my best to take care of you. With me here, your life won't be so hard anymore." Luo Shan took a step forward and held Bai Muir's hand tightly, his eyes filled with sincere emotion. Chapter 48. Would you commit fraud? Bai Muir felt mixed emotions when listening to Luo Shan's words. She looked at Luo Shan's determined eyes, felt the warmth of his palms, and felt an indescribable emotion in her heart. "We can't. I'm much older than you, and besides, etc., may not be able to accept you. And we're developing so fast. I'm not that kind of woman." Bai Muir still shook her head firmly. Her voice trembled slightly, and she tried to make her tone sound more firm. At the same time, Bai Muir also felt that she was not worthy of Luo Shan, as she was already old and had a child. And the Los Angeles in front of him was so young and so outstanding. There was nothing wrong with him, whether in appearance, family background, or even personality. She couldn't help but wonder, how could such a perfect person fall in love with her who had a child? Could it be that he just wanted to play with my feelings and disappear without a trace after getting me? I have experienced such pain once before, and I must never repeat the same mistake again. I don't think age is a problem. Luo Shan couldn't tell her that your age was nothing, as he already had a woman with a child in her 20s, right? The two of us still drink and chat happily every night. Luo Shan pulled Bai Muir in front of him with all his strength. The distance between the two of them shortened instantly, so close that they could feel each other's breath. Looking at Bai Muir, who was so close, Luo Shan leaned over and pressed his lips directly onto Bai Muir's lips, blocking Bai Muir's lips and leaving Bai Muir no chance to speak. Bai Muir was so shocked by Luo Shan's sudden action that she was stunned and her brain went blank for a moment. But the warmth and softness on her lips made her feel dizzy. Her heartbeat quickened, and a feeling she had never felt before came over her. Bai Muir's mind went blank for dozens of seconds before he reacted and pushed Luo Shan away fiercely. But Lo Zhang's figure could not be shaken at all, and he was still tightly pressed against his lips. In anger, Bai Muir opened his teeth and bit Luo Shan's lips hard. That's enough, Los Angeles. If you keep doing this, we won't even be friends anymore. Finally, after being bitten, Los Angeles took several steps back. He reached out and touched his bitten lip, which had a tiny streak of blood that was particularly eye-catching. Looking at Bai Muir with a determined look in his eyes, Luo Shan also knew that force was not going to work. He had probably already touched her bottom line. If he went any further, it might backfire. I'm sorry, Sister Mu Ya, you are so beautiful that I can't help myself. Since you don't want to accept my words, I will leave. You should also go to bed early and get enough rest. Luo Shan pulled up an ugly smile. Then after saying these two sentences, he left without looking back. Looking at Luo Shan's back, Bai Muir wanted to ask him to stay, but reason and emotion were in fierce conflict. But when the words came to my lips, I didn't know what to say. I could only watch Luo Shan's lonely back as he left my home. The door closed and there was no sign of Lo Zhang in the room anymore. Bai Muir stared blankly at the direction where Luo Shan left and couldn't help but sigh. Would you guys do something like that? The next day, Luo Shan arrived at the gate of Chaoyang Kindergarten early. Although the kindergarten had not yet finished school, the entrance was already full of parents who came to pick up their children. Luo Shan found a couple who looked rather mean, and spoke straight to the point. The young couple looked at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of them and said such words to them, and they were immediately confused. But after hearing the generous reward, the couple nodded repeatedly and said they could do it. Bai Muir spent the whole day in a daze. He was not doing well at work, his mind was a mess, and he was restless. But Los Angeles' figure emerged particularly clearly. And the kiss that Los Angeles gave me last night. Thinking of that kiss, Bai Muir's heart always beats fast and his whole body feels hot. As soon as they arrived at Chaoyang Kindergarten, Bai Muir saw Deng Deng leaning against the gate of the kindergarten from afar. A man and a woman were standing in front of Deng Deng, with bad faces on their faces. They were pointing at Deng Deng and saying something. And Tongdeng's little face was filled with anxiety, tears streaming down like beads from a broken string. She cried so pitifully, like a pear blossom in the rain. Seeing this, Bai Muir hurriedly ran forward, squatted down and held Deng Deng in his arms, then stood up and looked at the middle-aged couple in front of him with vigilant eyes. Don't cry, Mom is here, don't be afraid, Mom is here, no one can bully you. You are the mother of this child, aren't you? The middle-aged couple exchanged glances at the same time and nodded secretly in their hearts. Then the man spoke to Bai Muir with a ferocious look. Yes, I am. What's the matter? Bai Muir had been comforting and stroking Deng Deng's forehead, while speaking to the two of them. Your child bumped into my daughter. What do you think we should do about this? A little girl about 4 or 5 years old walked out from behind the middle-aged couple. There were traces of blood on the little girl's bare legs and a large purple spot on her arm. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Mom, wait, I didn't hit her, she bumped into me by herself. Wait, sobbed, his little face full of anxiety, and then explained. You've already learned to lie at such a young age. I don't know who taught you that. You have such poor upbringing. The woman in the couple frowned and spoke in a harsh voice. The woman's eyes were like a sharp sword, scanning Bai Muir and her daughter. Wait, I'm not lying. You have to believe me, Mom. Wait looked up at Bai Muir and spoke quickly. Mom believes in Deng Deng. Mom believes in Deng Deng the most. Deng Deng will never lie. Don't cry. Bai Muir frowned when she heard this. She gently wiped the tears from Deng Deng's face and spoke softly. Then Bai Muir turned his head and looked at the middle-aged couple with a firm gaze, his tone filled with unquestionable firmness. Weitong never lies. I believe he is telling the truth. It must be your child who bumped into Weitong himself. You said she wouldn't lie, so she wouldn't lie? Did you see it? We saw with our own eyes that your daughter bumped into my daughter, husband, don't you agree? The woman gently elbowed the man next to her with her arm. Of course, we saw it with our own eyes. Otherwise, how could our daughter be injured? The man nodded decisively, then he took a step forward, trying to overwhelm Bai Muir with his momentum. I'm saying that some children are habitual liars. Have they not been taught by their parents since they were young? As soon as these words came out, Bai Muir stared at the man, feeling a sense of powerlessness in her heart. Is it possible that what I said was right? Could it be that he really has no father since childhood? Then this person, could it be that he is a bastard that no one wants? Seeing that there was no response for a long time, the man sneered again, then looked at Bai Muir and her daughter aggressively with cold eyes. That's what I said. How could a normal family raise a child who is a habitual liar? Thank you Meow Meow tilde the reward is a big healthcare X1, thank you Meow. Chapter 49, Capture Bai Muir. The woman spoke again, and the two of them sang in unison. However, the couple was still a little scared. Wouldn't it shorten their lifespans if they said this to an orphan and a widow? But the two of them thought about the extremely generous rewards for completing all this, so they gritted their teeth and said, "We affirm materialists. Don't believe these. Once the arrow is shot, there is no turning back. Go for it." Regarding Deng Deng's father, Bai Muir has been very cautious since Deng Deng was a child and tried her best to avoid mentioning his father in front of Deng Deng. And now the couple in front of them actually spoke about Deng Deng's father in public, and used extremely harsh words. Such words will definitely hurt the extremely young heart of Deng Deng. As the couple in front of her sang in unison, Bai Muir's eyes had turned red and tears kept swirling in her eyes. The feeling of helplessness surged like a tide, almost drowning her. You? Bai Muir opened her mouth, but didn't know what to say. How she wished she had her own safe haven at this moment, so that she no longer had to face the wind and rain and had more support. How to stop yourself from suffering these grievances alone. I am really tired of living now. At this time, Bai Muir thought of Luo Shan. How nice it would be if Luo Shan was here. But unfortunately, that man was rejected by herself yesterday. Although I don't want to implicate him, but who said Wait doesn't have a father? In the distance, a figure slowly strode towards here. The setting sun shone obliquely on him, making his figure look so tall. His shadow was projected on the ground, and it was so long. Flowers, applause, cheers, everything that can be greeted is coming towards me, and I am enjoying your cheers and screams to the fullest. Brother made a brilliant appearance. The man walked closer step by step, and Bai Muir widened his eyes in surprise. She didn't expect that Los Angeles would appear here at this time. When I was most helpless and needed him, he appeared. Is this God's will? This seemed like a coincidence destined by heaven, and she felt an indescribable emotion in her heart. Luo Shan walked to Bai Muir, patted Bai Muir's shoulder gently, and then spoke softly. I am coming. These three words seemed to have magical power, instantly soothing all the uneasiness and anxiety in Bai Muir's heart. Bai Muir's eyes became wet again, but this time they were tears of emotion and excitement. She held Luo Shan's hand tightly, as if she had found long-lost support. The middle-aged couple were stunned when they saw this, but they understood it after just a moment. So that's how it is. You want to play this on me, right? I heard everything you just said. I am Deng Deng's father. Luo Shan's voice was low and powerful, containing an indescribable sense of oppression. My daughter never lies and I believe her. Also, as a father, I will not allow anyone to bully her. The couple looked at each other, not knowing what to say for a moment. You are Deng Deng's father. The man stepped forward with a trembling voice, and he looked obviously intimidated by Los Angeles' domineering aura. That's right. Luo Shan nodded. You're the one who wants to cause trouble for my daughter. That's not true, we were just joking. The man smiled awkwardly and quickly waved his hands to deny it, his eyes flickering, trying to avoid Los Angeles' sharp gaze. It's all a misunderstanding. My daughter fell accidentally. If there's nothing wrong, we'll leave first. Stop. Apologize to my daughter, or none of you can leave. Luo Shan looked at the two people in front of him and scolded them coldly. Wait a minute, little kid, right? Sorry. The couple just took a step forward, but stopped again in an instant, turned around with grim expressions, and said to Deng Deng. Wait, do you forgive them? Luo Shan touched Deng Deng's forehead and asked. Wait, I'll forgive them. Children's minds are relatively simple. After hearing their apologies, they started to speak in baby voices. Then you can get out now. After hearing what Luo Shan said, the couple ran away immediately. Don't cry, your face will look ugly if you cry. After the couple left, Luo Shan reached out his hand, gently wiped away the remaining tears on Bai Muyashan, and spoke softly. What brings you here? Bai Muir looked up and asked Luo Shan, who was a head taller than her. I'm here to pick up Deng Deng from school. As Deng Deng's father, isn't it normal for me to pick up my daughter from school? If it weren't for me, you would have been bullied by that disgusting couple. Luo Shan squatted down, pinched Deng Deng's little nose, and spoke slowly. Wait, you will have a father in the future. Can Uncle Luo be your father in the future? Okay. Wait, I like Uncle Luo the most. A smile as beautiful as a flower bloomed on Deng Deng's little face, and he spoke in surprise. But your mother doesn't agree. Can you persuade her? Mom, can you let Uncle Luo be Deng Deng's father? Deng Deng likes Uncle Luo the most. Wait, hugged Bai Muir's legs and spoke in a coquettish manner. Okay. Listen to what I am saying. Bai Muir rubbed Deng Deng's little head, with tears in the corners of her eyes, and nodded at Luo Shan. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Okay. Uncle Luo will be Deng Deng's father from now on. Deng Deng jumped up and down with an innocent smile. In the evening, after dinner, Luo Shan followed Bai Muir and her daughter to Bai Muir's cabin again. After Bai Muir coaxed Deng Deng to sleep, she walked out to the sofa and sat next to Luo Shan. Luo Shan looked at Bai Muir beside him, her delicate features sparkling under the light. Without saying a word, he reached out and hugged Bai Muir in his arms. What are you doing? Bai Muir blushed and gently punched Luo Shan's chest with her little pink fist. But you have already agreed that I will be Deng Deng's father, so what else do you think I should do? Bai Muir was wearing a pair of tight jeans, which perfectly set off her curvy figure. You really don't mind if I have a child? Bai Muir looked at Luo Shan with seductive eyes, her body trembling slightly. Of course. Deng Deng is so cute, why would I mind? I just want to give you and Deng Deng a better life, so will you accept me? Los Angeles nodded without saying a word. What's there to worry about? Your child is only 3 years old. Some of the kids are already 20 years old, and I don't mind. Of course. I promise to wait. Bai Muir raised her head and met Luo Shan's extremely serious gaze, and nodded heavily. Then he aimed at Los Angeles' big mouth and kissed it directly. The atmosphere heated up. Luo Shan picked up Bai Muir horizontally and threw her directly onto the sofa. Chapter 50 The Dragon King Returns. A few hours later, Bai Muir hugged Luo Shan tightly and buried Luo Shan's head in his broad chest. Then he placed his hands on Los Angeles' face, groping slowly, with a lot of thoughts in his mind. Los Angeles, I'm going to tell you first, don't be surprised. After I've finished listening to you, you can decide whether to be Etsu's father and stay with me. I'm doing this for your own good. After a long period of tenderness, Bai Muir slowly opened his mouth and revealed a big secret. Actually, I'm from the Bai family. Yes, it's what you think, the Bai family in Jinghai. 4 years ago, I met a man, and I was deceived by that man, which led to me getting pregnant before marriage, giving birth, etc. But not long after Wait was born, the man disappeared without a trace and there was no news of him since. You mean Deng Deng's father is not dead, but missing? Luo Shan suddenly asked, knowing the answer. Yes, but he hasn't appeared for such a long time, so he must be dead. But it's better if he's dead. I never want to see him again. Originally, Bai Muyer's love for Qin Xiao completely turned into hatred. If it weren't for Qin Xiao, he wouldn't have ended up like this. He left without saying a word, leaving himself and his widow and 2 orphans behind. When the Bai family found out that I was pregnant before marriage, they felt that I had ruined the Bai family's reputation and kicked me out. And the Bai family also said that no one is allowed to help them, otherwise they will bear the consequences themselves. I could only support myself and live in such a simple house. I also worked many jobs. During this period, I really aged a lot. I actually don't want to involve you in the matter between me and the Bai family. This is why I refuse to accept you, and I also feel that I am not worthy of you. You can put on your clothes and leave now. We can just act like strangers from now on. Let's just treat all this as a dream. Although he was extremely reluctant, Bai Muyer still looked at Luo Shan and spoke firmly. Compared with her love for Los Angeles, she cares more about the safety of Los Angeles. Although Luo Shan's identity is certainly extraordinary, no matter how extraordinary he is, he cannot compare to the Bai family, which is at the top of the pyramid in Jinghai City. Tell me, why do you love to cry so much? I've already told you that a tearful face doesn't look good. Seeing that tears were still swirling in Bai Muyer's eyes, Luo Shan smiled gently and gently wiped the tears from the corners of Bai Muyer's eyes. He didn't care about the Bai family at all. Of course, he had heard of the Bai family in Jinghai. It's just a small family, nothing to be afraid of. I've said it before, you and Deng Deng will not be bullied by anyone anymore. How could my woman be bullied by others? We will face it together. Luo Shan looked at Bai Muyer and spoke firmly. Then swear that you won't abandon me. I'm afraid you will abandon me too. There was an obvious flash of joy in Bai Muyer's eyes, but she was still afraid that Luo Shan would be like that man and abandon her when he got tired of playing with her. Just like before. I sent. Luo Shan stretched out his hand and just as he swore, he was interrupted by Bai Muyer. I believe you. Bai Muyer covered Luo Shan's mouth with his hand as he was about to swear, then kissed Luo Shan hard on the lips and said, Aren't you tired yet? Bai Muyer rolled her eyes at Luo Shan and said, I'm definitely not tired, my body is in great shape. Luo Shan straightened his chest again and spoke confidently. Don't wake up Deng Deng, he has to go to school tomorrow. Luo Shan looked at Bai Muyer's moisturized face, which looked even more charming, and spoke teasingly. At the distant Eagle Country Airport, thousands of miles away from here. Don't send me off. I have decided to return to China. If you try to persuade me to return to the Dragon King Palace, then forget it. The man was full of mystery and exuded coldness. But his eyes were indeed very beautiful, as if they were full of stories, making people very attracted to them. Qin Xiao turned his head and looked at the dozen or so figures following him closely behind him. Qin Xiao was extremely familiar with each of those dozen figures. They were his brothers on the battlefield who had shared life and death with him. The brothers looked at Qin Xiao with tears in their eyes and their looks were full of reluctance. Qin Xiao looked at the eyes of these brothers, and his heart was deeply touched, but he still waved his hand firmly and spoke. The brothers looked at the young man in front of them. In their hearts, this man was as good as a god. But few people know that Qin Xiao is just a 27-year-old young man. Once this news gets out, the entire mercenary world will be in uproar. After all, the man who single-handedly created the undisputed world's #1 mercenary force, the Dragon King Palace, in just 4 years was so young. Dragon King, are you sure you want to leave the Dragon King Palace and stop asking about its affairs? A sturdy, blond foreign man wearing a white vest strode forward, looked at Qin Xiao and spoke slowly. William, you should first choose the next Dragon King to replace you. I am also tired and fed up with all these disputes. If I have time, I will come back to see you brothers later. Actually, there's one thing I haven't told you yet. I already have a wife and kids, and I want to return to an ordinary life. Let's stop here, and don't send me off. When talking about his wife and children, Qin Xiao's cold and battle-hardened eyes clearly revealed a hint of warmth and longing. I don't know how Mu Wei and the child are doing now, and whether they miss me. If I hadn't been forced to do so, I would never have abandoned them and left them alone. Moreover, the situation of the Dragon King Palace has been too dangerous in recent years, and I really can't get away, otherwise I would have returned to China to see them long ago. It is true that I, Qin Xiao, am sorry to you. I swear that I will use everything I have to compensate you. This is my promise as the Dragon King. What? The Dragon King actually has a wife and children. Although they were all Qin Xiao's brothers who had lived and died together, this was the first time they heard the news, and they all showed surprise on their faces. You don't need to say more. This is the end. Don't say anything sad anymore. I have made up my mind. Brothers, we will meet again in the future, no matter how far apart we are. Qin Xiao smiled freely, no longer looking at the brothers behind him, turned around and boarded the plane directly. Sitting on the plane, Qin Xiao leaned against the window. He wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. The roar of the plane engine was in his ears, but his heart was unusually calm. The plane took off slowly, and Qin Xiao's gaze shone through the glass onto the land where he had fought for his entire life. He would eventually leave, and he was not a person from this land after all. From now on, there will no longer be any Dragon King, only me, Qin Xiao. Chapter 51 Mu Qingyun. The next day, early morning. I'll take you to school. You can rest for a while. Luo Shan got up, pecked by Muir lightly on the lips, and spoke. The battle last night was really intense. Even now the room is filled with the smell of temptation. Luo Shan looked at Bai Muir, and at the same time a curtain of light appeared in Luo Shan's eyes. Name, Bai Muir. Age, 28. Appearance, 97. Identity, the daughter of destiny, Dragon King Qin Xiao is the undisputed #1 female protagonist. Realm, none. Favorability towards their host, 70. Luck value, 1000. Looking at Bai Muir's favorability towards her as high as 70, Luo Shan was still very satisfied. After all, she was the undisputed #1 female lead of the Dragon King. And the Dragon King still has deep feelings for her. But now I have taken it down by myself. The Dragon King hasn't come back yet, but I have already made arrangements for him. I really don't know how the Dragon King will react when he comes back and sees Bai Muir lying in his arms. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay. Thank you very much. Bai Muir was exhausted after experiencing the madness of last night. She couldn't even open her eyes. Listening to Luo Shan's words, Bai Muir just nodded instinctively. Wife, what you said is not a big deal. Why should we talk about troubles between the two of us? You should rest for a while. As Luo Shan said this, he took Deng Deng out of the room and sent him to kindergarten. As I was walking on the road, my cell phone rang. Luo Shan looked at the display on his phone and immediately answered the call. Hello? Miss Yun, what do you want to talk to me about? The person who called was Yun Qian. After they exchanged WeChat accounts, Yun Qian would ask about his well-being every day and show his concern for him in every possible way. This reminded Luo Shan of himself in the original plot. Why did Yun Qian's words seem so familiar to him? I seem to have said these words in the original plot as well. Yun Qian, you plagiarized my words. Are the words of liquors all interchangeable? Los Angeles, do you have time tonight? Yun Qian was on the other end of the phone. When she heard Luo Shan's voice, a sweet smile appeared on her face. No, Qian, what are you grinning about? I didn't expect my icy female president to become like this now. You have really fallen. Yun's building, top floor. In Yun Qian's office, there is not only Yun Qian in her office. Now, there is a woman sitting on the desk in front of Yun Qian. The woman was sitting facing Yun Qian. She was wearing a white slim-fitting shirt, which perfectly showed off her surging beauty. The black skirt perfectly sets off her extremely hot body. Stockings wrapped around her round and slender thighs, and on her feet she wore black patent leather high heels with red soles. What's even more terrible is that she is wearing a pair of half-frame glasses on her charming face, which makes her look even more attractive. She exudes an indescribable charm from head to toe, which can easily captivate people. The woman stretched out her foot and rubbed it on Yun Qian's hand, which was dialing the phone. But only 2 people in the office can see this scene, otherwise it would be extremely exciting. Yun Qian reached out her hand, pushed the woman's feet aside, and then listened carefully to Luo Shan's words. I have time, what's wrong? After hearing Luo Shan's reply, Yun Qian spoke quickly. Today, our family is going to hold a grand dinner party. My father insisted that I invite you to attend. So, do you have time to attend tonight? In fact, Yun Qian's father never said this, but sometimes it is still useful to use someone else's name to justify his actions. Sure, since Uncle Yun invited me, I will definitely arrive on time. Just tell me the time and place. Luo Shan immediately accepted Yun Qian's invitation. No, just give me a location and I'll drive you there. I can also introduce you to someone. Yun Qian quickly said that she could do this kind of thing by herself, and it would also allow the two of them to spend more time together. The two exchanged a few more pleasantries before Yun Qian reluctantly hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Yun Qian stood up and gave a faint, contemptuous smile to the woman in front of her. You don't understand. This is called love. You have never tasted the bitterness of love. You don't understand its taste. Your experience is still too shallow. You have fallen, and the relationship between us sisters has faded. Hearing this, the woman became bolder and reached out to grab Yun Qian's collar, trying to unbutton her shirt and reveal her true face. Mu Qingyun, get out of here. Keep your hands clean, you slut, how can you have such a pure name? You are insulting this name. Yun Qian directly pushed Mu Qingyun's hand that was on her chest aside and spoke. If you don't want to touch me, then don't touch me. Why are you so angry? It's not like I haven't touched it before, how could I not know how much weight you have? Mu Qingyun withdrew her hand angrily, muttering to herself. If you don't know how to use your mouth, just donate it. Yun Qian glared at Mu Qingyun fiercely. However, after meeting Yun Qian's threatening eyes, Mu Qingyun fell silent and shut her mouth completely. You said you introduced someone to him. Who was that person? But the silence didn't last long. Mu Qingyun heard what Yun Qian had just said on the phone and couldn't help but ask curiously. You guess? Could it be me? Mu Qingyun suddenly realized something and exclaimed. Yes, you guessed it right. You are my best friend, so I must let others know you, otherwise it will be embarrassing to see you when we are together in the future. Yun Qian said that the main reason she needed Mu Qingyun to be her wingman was that it would be difficult for her to do it alone. Go change your clothes now. If you keep wearing this slutty look, get out of here right now. Yun Qian looked at Mu Qingyun's outfit and couldn't help but hold her forehead and speak speechlessly. Okay, I'll go change my clothes now. I want to see what kind of person can make my Qiyang so obsessed. When you get there and see them, don't say anything nonsense. Yun Qian's eyes were full of warnings, warning Mu Qingyun. Qiyang, don't you know what kind of person I am? I am famous for being tight-lipped. I will definitely not tell your lover about what happened between us. Mu Qingyun spoke up, already calculating her own plans in her mind. I have to give this man a try. Let us see what kind of person is worthy of my Qiyang. Chapter 52 The Temptation of a Good Friend. Son, the Yun family is hosting a business dinner today, but your mother insisted that I spend some time alone with her and wouldn't let me go. We're a little busy and can't get away, so we won't go. I'm asking you to go in our place. It's a good opportunity to have a good exchange with the little girl from the Yun family. We are both young people, so relax a little and remember to give your mother and me a big fat grandson as soon as possible. Just after hanging up the phone with Yun Qian, he got a call from his cheap dad. Luo Shan listened to Luo Qianming's instructions on the other end of the phone. His forehead was filled with black lines, and he could only nod and agree helplessly. I know. I will go, don't worry. Okay, work hard. If you need money, tell me. Your dad doesn't have much of anything except money. Luo Shan could clearly hear Luo Qianming smile. What did you say? Do I have to live alone with you? Luo Qianming, can you please have some shame? Who begged me to live alone with you? Then I won't live with you anymore. Go away. Don't even think about talking to me about our world for two again. Wife, I was wrong. This is in front of the children. Please give me some face. Please give me some face. Oh, please don't do it. Well, son, I'm going to die first. Before hanging up the phone, I heard my mother's voice floating from a distance, accompanied by my cheap father's screams. Luo Shan felt even more helpless, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth involuntarily. It turns out that people can really laugh when they are most speechless. However, Luo Shan still has an impression of the dinner party held at the Yun family. This is when our protagonist, the Dragon King, first appeared in the original plot. In the original plot, it was of course impossible for him to be invited by Yun Qian. Naturally, I went there by myself, licking my face, just to have more contact with Yun Qian. But now everything has changed, and the offense and defense have changed. Dragon King, are you ready for the great gift I left for you? Is there still that green spot on your head? Qin Xiao experienced a long day and night of flying, with the plane shuttling back and forth through layers of clouds. It was not until the evening that the plane landed steadily at Jinghai Airport in China. The moment he stepped out of the cabin, Qin Xiao took a deep breath of the unique air of Jinghai, feeling filled with emotion. For years later, Qin Xiao finally returned to this long-cherished Chinese land. As soon as he got off the plane, Qin Xiao couldn't wait to take out his mobile phone, quickly dialed a number, and gave instructions in an urgent tone. "Hey, it's me. Please check by New Year's news for me. The sooner the better. I want to know all her information within 3 days." After giving the instructions, Qin Xiao put down his phone, his eyes full of anticipation. After giving the instructions, Qin Xiao slowly put down his phone, his eyes flashing with anticipation. "Mu children, I am back. I am back to find you. I want to give you the best life and let us live together peacefully forever." He now wants to know everything about his wife and children, and wants to see his wife and children. When I walked out of the terminal, a man in a black suit was already waiting by the car. As soon as he saw Qin Xiao leaving the terminal, the man in the black suit quickly took out his mobile phone for comparison. After repeated confirmation that the photo on the phone was identical to Qin Xiao himself, he quickly stepped forward and asked respectfully, "Hello, is this Mr. Qin?" Qin Xiao nodded indifferently, with no extra expression on his face, and didn't say much. His eyes were filled with the pressure of a superior, which was the pride that belonged only to the Dragon King. "Boss Yun sent me to pick you up." The man in the suit answered respectfully. After getting Qin Xiao's affirmation, he quickly took the luggage from Qin Xiao's hand, put it in the car, and politely invited Qin Xiao to get in. "Mr. Qin, please get in the car." Qin Xiao got into the car and heard the rumbling of the engine. Qin Xiao's new life was about to begin. In the evening, the setting sun in the sky is as red as blood, dyeing the sky brilliantly. Luo Shan stood quietly on the side of the road. He had already told Yunqian where he was now. Yunqian also responded readily, promising that she would arrive immediately, and then went to the Yun family compound with Luo Shan to attend the Yun family's dinner together. At this moment, a navy blue Maybach sedan came speeding from the distant horizon, like a flash of lightning across the sky. In the blink of an eye, the Maybach stopped steadily in front of Los Angeles. Yunqian gently rolled down the car window, and her long burgundy hair looked particularly dazzling under the setting sun. She smiled at Luo Shan and said, "I'm not late, am I? Come on and get in the car. The dinner will start soon." "Who is this?" Luo Shan opened the back door and was about to get in the car, but unexpectedly found a woman in a dark purple evening dress sitting in the back seat. The dark purple evening dress perfectly outlines the woman's curvy figure, making it impossible to look away. This woman was a completely unfamiliar face to Los Angeles, who had never seen her before. This woman exudes an indescribable charm, as if it was innate. It seeps out from her bones, making people fall for it involuntarily. Through his understanding of the plot, Los Angeles quickly determined the identity of the woman in front of him. This woman should be Yunqian's best friend, Mu Qingyun. Of course, this person is also one of the Dragon King's concubines. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Her name is Mu Qingyun, she's my best friend, and we're going to attend the dinner together. That's what I said on the phone that I would introduce her to you. Yunqian quickly introduced him to Luo Shan. After receiving a positive answer, Los Angeles nodded, raised his feet and sat in the car. "Hello, my name is Mu Qingyun, nice to meet you. I've always heard Qiyang mention your name. I was wondering what kind of person my Qiyang would never forget. After seeing her today, I was really impressed." Mu Qingyun said to Luo Shan with a smile on her face. Apart from anything else, Los Angeles' appearance is very outstanding. Even compared with those popular stars on TV, he is not inferior, and even better. His handsomeness is different from the fragility and affectation shown by those pretty boys. It is a kind of handsomeness full of masculinity. No wonder my Qiyang falls in love with him. Luo Shan was about to respond when he saw Mu Qingyun extending a slender hand with anticipation in her eyes, as if she was looking forward to his handshake. "Nice to meet you too, my name is Los Angeles." Luo Shan responded with a smile, and at the same time stretched out his hand and gently held Mu Qingyun's hand. At the moment of shaking hands, Los Angeles could clearly feel an itch in the palm of his hand. Unexpectedly, Mu Qingyun actually took advantage of the handshake to secretly scratch her palm with her fingers. Although it was only a moment, Mu Qingyun retracted her hand. Luo Shan then looked up at Mu Qingyun in surprise. I saw Mu Qingyun smiling at me seductively, raising her eyebrows, conveying an unspoken understanding, and at the same time giving me a smile that showed I understood. Chapter 53. This is what you called me. Luo Shan didn't say much. He just glanced at Mu Qingyun and didn't move. Luo Shan sat in the back seat, closed his eyes and thought about the next episode of the Yun family dinner. The Dragon King is back. Later at the dinner, Yun Qian's father Yun Guiyang will send Qin Xiao to be Yun Qian's bodyguard. Just as Los Angeles was thinking about the plot, he suddenly felt a strange sensation in his calf. Luo Shan opened his eyes and lowered his head. Unexpectedly, he saw Mu Qingyun gently hooking his legs with her bare toes in the blind spot of his vision. Luo Shan raised his head and looked at Mu Qingyun, only to see Mu Qingyun blinking her charming eyes at him. Do my legs look good? While Yun Qian's attention was not here, Mu Qingyun suddenly leaned close to Luo Shan's ear, lowered her voice, and spoke softly. The sound was so faint that only Luo Shan and Mu Qingyun could hear it. It looks good, what's wrong? Los Angeles tells the truth. Mu Qingyun's legs are like white jade, like a precious work of art. It's white, smooth and tender. Do you want to touch it? Mu Qingyun spoke again. What does this mean? Are you trying to seduce me? Although Losang thinks he is very handsome, he also has a charming aura given by the system. But without triggering the critical hit of charm aura. Luo Shan obviously didn't believe that he could easily charm Mu Qingyun and make her fall for him in this way. Name, Mu Qingyun. Age, 23. Appearance, 97. Identity, the daughter of destiny, one of the concubines of Dragon King Qin Xiao. Realm, late external strength. Favorability towards their host, 30. Luck value, 700. Sure enough, after finding out Mu Qingyun's information in Los Angeles, Mu Qingyun's favorability towards him was only at the lowest level of charm aura, far from the point of being willing to pay for him. So what does this woman want to do? But, what do I care about him? It's been delivered to my door, there's no reason to refuse it. Yes. Los Angeles spoke up. Mu Qingyun couldn't help but smile secretly when she heard Luo Shan's words. It turned out that all men were like this. I thought there was something different about the men Qi Yang liked, but it turns out they are like this. But then Mu Qingyun couldn't laugh anymore. Because as Luo Shan's voice fell, his big hand had already covered her thigh and began to rub back and forth. Mu Qingyun wore an evening gown to attend the dinner, so her slender thighs were almost completely exposed to Luo Shan's eyes, and Luo Shan could easily reach them. Although Mu Qingyun's words were a little unrestrained, her heart and behavior were still very conservative. From beginning to end, she kept her distance from men. No man has ever been able to take advantage of me, let alone touch my thigh. She just wanted to tease Los Angeles, find out Los Angeles' problems, and persuade her best friend not to fall into the pain of love, and that being with her is the right thing to do. But I didn't expect Los Angeles to not play by the rules. He was so bold and just went for it directly. Mu Qingyun immediately regretted it. Why did I provoke him? Mu Qingyun's face turned red instantly, but Yun Qian was still sitting in the front driving, and she was embarrassed to let Yun Qian see this situation. She had no choice but to lower her voice and warn Los Angeles. Let go of my hand now, or you'll be in trouble. Ms. Mu, didn't you let me touch you? Are you blaming me? Luo Shan listened to Mu Qingyun's words, and not only did he not let go, but he slowly moved up along her thigh. Mu Qingyun stretched out her hand, trying to quickly remove Luo Shan's hand from her leg, but how could Mu Qingyun's strength be greater than Luo Shan's? Moreover, Mu Qingyun didn't dare to make any particularly big movements, for fear that Yun Qian would notice something unusual. She could only watch Los Angeles playing with her smooth and white thighs unscrupulously. Los Angeles' hand stopped when it moved close to the base of her thigh. Luo Shan felt that if he took one more step, Mu Qingyun would turn against him, and that would be a loss. It's best to stop at this point. Aren't you afraid that I'll tell Qi Yang about this? Mu Qingyun's face flushed red, just like a ripe tomato, and she threatened Luo Shan in a low voice. Mu Qingyun could clearly see Luo Shan's hands moving back and forth on her legs, but she couldn't move at all, which made her feel very humiliated. It's up to you. Yun Qian and I have nothing to do with each other. Luo Shan shrugged indifferently and simply gave in to Mu Qingyun. That being said, but how could he say it so naturally? This 10-minute journey seemed extremely long to Mu Qingyun. It seemed as if a whole century had passed. Finally, we arrived at the Yun family's villa. Yun Qian asked the two to get out of the car first, and then she went to park the car. After getting out of the car, Mu Qingyun watched Yun Qian drive into the parking lot, pointed at Luo Shan, and spoke viciously. Did you enjoy the touch just now? How did it feel? It's okay. Quite comfortable. Luo Shan nodded, placed his palm on the tip of his nose and took 2 puffs, as if he was savoring the taste just now. You. Seeing Luo Shan's actions, Mu Qingyun felt that Luo Shan was insulting her in public. I want you to know what will happen if you dare to take advantage of me. Mu Qingyun decided to teach Luo Shan a lesson and let him know that he can't take advantage of anyone. Mu Qingyun gathered her strength and swung her little pink fist towards Luo Shan. After all, she is a master in the late external strength stage. In her opinion, a seemingly uneducated dandy like Luo Shan is just a dandy. Wouldn't it be easy for me to deal with him? However, Mu Qingyun's attack was easily dodged by Luo Shan. I underestimated you. Mu Qingyun watched Luo Shan easily dodge her attack, and looked at Luo Shan with her eyes slightly narrowed. With your mediocre skills, don't bother with this. Forget it. But your legs are really white and tender. Can we make an appointment to let me touch them again? Luo Shan looked at Mu Qingyun in front of him and teased her. Hee, I hope your mouth can still be as hard as it is now. Mu Qingyun became angry again after hearing Luo Shan's teasing, and then turned around and punched Luo Shan again. Ms. Mu, how about you let me touch more than just your legs in the future? I still haven't felt other places before. How about you invite me to, and let me, see other places? If you invite me, I will still do it with reluctance. Seeing this, Luo Shan grabbed Mu Qingyun's wrist, preventing her from moving at all. Mu Qingyun's face turned red when she heard this. She was already angry and embarrassed, and a gleam of light flashed in her eyes. So, taking advantage of Luo Shan's unpreparedness, she raised her leg and kicked Luo Shan with a high whip kick. With her skirt flying, Luo Shan almost saw her private parts. But unfortunately, Mu Qingyun was actually wearing safety pants. Luo Shan shook his head lightly, reacted, and then directly pinched Mu Qingyun's ankle with his backhand.